here we go. Finally, here we go. Sorry about that. I was having some trouble. It wasn't letting me go live for some odd reason. Members only thing off right quick. Yeah, I thinking I'm not gonna do the members only thing for a few minutes. Anywho, it was like literally just listening to Mozart all day long. Like it's crazy because like I'm not gonna lie, it's starting to feel like almost like hype music. Like there's a few of his songs, I swear, it makes me just wanna it makes me want to like go fast. Kind of crazy. I'm gonna do some of this video before I get well, guess I better. Anywho, since 1970, all these male male space, at one point America had male only spaces. Like I think there was like it was like a third of all men belonged to a club, a moose or a lodge, Freemasons, Moose Lodge, Elk, Odd Fellows. You had Boy Scouts. You had male only country clubs. You had male only gyms, hunting clubs, all kinds. Oh, also college stuff like Skull and Bone Society. That is, it's ill. They're not allowed to do men only. We are not allowed to do men only. We've been systematically stripped of everything, all of our freedoms, all of our rights. Like, honestly, today, like, there used to be separate but equal Jim Crow South. We live in, like, today, it's not even separate but equal. It's just straight up unequal. We're straight up denied. Uh, we're denied school, education. We're denied opportunity. We're denied the freedom to gather. And I don't know how this came about that we got stripped of all these things and we didn't even realize it and we're not even upset about it. How is that? How does that happen? That we get stripped of all of our own agency, all of our sovereignty. We get s- stripped from our position in society, our position in families, our position in the economy, in companies. I don't think there's a single domain of American life that we haven't been turned into a second class citizen. Like you're fixing to go on a little journey with me here and I assure you you're going to be asking yourself by the end of this how the hell we could be cast down like untouchables, how we could be totally exiled from polite society, but also we've been like honestly, we've been stripped of everything, all of our prestige, all of our respect. We're not allowed to have families anymore. The suicide rate is out of control and nobody talks about it. But truly, Boy Scouts, we're not even allowed like I'm talking about male spaces, Boy Scouts, not they're allowed to have Girl Scouts, we're not allowed to have Boy Scouts. They're allowed to have women's gyms, we're not allowed to have men's gyms. They're allowed to have women's colleges, we're not allowed to have men's colleges, not even for military school. It's against the law. They're allowed to have uh, uh, networking clubs, networking social clubs, and country clubs that, like CEOs and executives join. And it's literally women only. Women only. And we used to have these kind of things too. The second half of the 20th century, they were literally targeted for extermination. We have been systematically targeted for second class citizen. And I think it's this way all over the West. We've been targeted to be at the bottom of the caste system. We're not allowed to have anything. There are no male teachers. We're not allowed to gather. We're not allowed to have men's only spaces. We're not allowed to have social clubs in college like the Skull and Bones. We'll get sued. We will get falsely accused of sexual harassment. We will be thrown in prison. If we try to gather politically, we'll be thrown in jail. You ever noticed how women, they gather all the time, they protest all the time, never happens with men? You think that's an accident or a coincidence? Honestly. Like a third of us aren't working. You hear people say about white genocide and this and that, all, just willy nilly talking about killing us, women talking about exterminating us. We had, like, we don't have any connections with our ancestors. Think about it. Is there any institution or entity or anything that you belong to that has any historical importance? Do you belong to a club or to any institution that George Washington belonged to, that Abraham Lincoln, anything at all? Don't you think that's kind of odd? Knights of Columbus, these different social groups, like we have been cut off from our history, from our past and our ancestors and our forebears. We've been cut off from this. We've been cut off from all these things, all these institutions were literally demolitioned. All of in these social clubs, like you ever wondered how Americans got along without welfare, without social security? You ever wondered how that worked before insurance? These social clubs were they were clubs you had to pay dues. And if you got hurt, you broke your leg, your social club covered your bills, made sure you and your family ate. We used to be totally self-sufficient. And our government, they didn't income taxes, They didn't there was no welfare, nothing. We got along better than we get along now through private institutions like the Freemasons. People you always hear the Freemasons, "Oh, they're a secret society and who knows what they're doing." We know exactly what they were doing. They hung out, drank beer, and they built up a sense of community and camaraderie, and they paid dues. So if they got hurt, they knew their community had their back. People that knew your name had your back. Now, we don't have anything like that. We traded we traded community and private and way there are ways to live life without a government safety net. It's called a community safety net. We've been banned from doing this. We've been banned from this. We've been banned from setting up social clubs to like network so that, for jobs, for work, for friends. Isn't that isn't that kind of odd? Isn't it weird that that you've never even thought of this before? You've never even considered what mechanisms did we have before government welfare and social security that doesn't take care of us anyways? That shit is it's specifically and exclusively for coloreds and women. What a coincidence, though, that we've been banned from looking out for each other. We've been banned from taking care of each other as a community. We've been banned, and in its place, we've been sold, a bill of goods. Oh, don't worry about that stuff. We've got a social safety net. We'll take care of you. The government will take care of you. Does anybody believe that for a second? They FEMA goes past your house if you've been hit by a hurricane. We've been outlawed, criminalized from taking care of each other and from becoming a real community. And that has totally left us open to the predation of the establishment, the predation of other groups. We've had a jackboot on our neck for the last 60 years. We're not allowed to have even so much as a male golf course, male hunting club. You have to let women in. No ifs, ands, or buts. You have to let women in. And the point of that is because once upon a time, before women were in the workforce, we had these social clubs, we had these different auxiliaries, and even the mafia was a social club. You know that the mafia, like men would all pay dues and then rent an apartment, rent a warehouse, rent a room. And then they would elect a president of their social club. They would elect a treasurer to look after the dinero. You knew that if you died on the job, that your wife and kids were going to be taken care of, and they would also receive a small stipend. They would receive, a lump sum as well as payments. You knew that you were taken care of. And it wasn't by some bureaucrat, nameless, faceless bureaucrat. You weren't just a number. You were a neighbor, a coworker, a peer, a friend. A a role model of the community. You know, and there was no sitting back on your laurels. The only reason why that stuff occurred was because everybody took care of each other. When somebody got fired, somebody got hurt, they passed around the hat. Everybody took a turn bringing over meals. What Jewish people have today, where they take care of each other, we had that. We had that. They enacted laws to make it illegal only for us, only for you and I. They have law, like I said, they have laws on the books say you can't discriminate against people on the, on the basis of gender. Except basically every single state has legislation on the books exempting women from that because women are battered wives, so they're allowed to have their shelters, their what are they, abuse shelters, and they, they don't want men there because the women, they've been abused by men, so they are exempted for that reason as well. I mean, that's why they get exemptions. Same as the bathrooms and stuff. They get exemptions, we don't get exemptions. They are worried about, their feelings are taken into account. Our feelings aren't even considered. And if they are considered, it's insofar as how can we make their lives more miserable? How can we inconvenience them? How can we disadvantage them? How can we render them inert? How can we neuter them? How can we turn this population of men into eunuchs? And can we do it without these morons realizing that we are enslaving them, that we are turning them into the untouchables in a caste system? We're going to do it slowly and incrementally, but over the course of a century, these we're going to take this group that is at the top of the hierarchy and basically runs the world. We're going to take this group and we're going to render them totally inert. We're going to deny them everything possible. We're going to deny them a shoulder to cry on. We're going to deny them attention, redress for grievances. We're just going to pretend that they don't exist. Or if we don't just pretend they don't exist, we're going to go out of our way to disadvantage them so that we can advantage these other groups more. I mean, have you ever considered that, like I said, we're not allowed to gather? You ever wondered why you've never seen a protest with all white men? Not once. You've seen it with women, though. We're not allowed to go to school by ourselves. Men and women went to school separately historically. What they did was they burned down men's school. They just totally scrapped it. And they focused on, they And then they took women's schools and the model of women's schools, and that's what they implemented over the country. Essentially, we have been getting denied education. We've been getting denied everything. We've been getting denied any consideration, any much less special consideration. There aren't any teachers aren't men. We don't have any schools for us, specifically for us. There's no $0 go towards our future. $0 go towards our educations. I'm serious. Like, I have the statistics and stuff. We've been systematically driven to suicide, driven to deaths of despair, driven to not reproduce, overdosing, drug addiction, war, being denied opportunities at jobs, at companies, being accused of, like, we can't have our own gyms. And then do you see how what happens at these gyms? Men are women, a man looks at a woman and he is berated or attacked, smeared all over online. We have been stripped of any places where we fit in, places of comfort where we can relax, or be of safety, places of safety where we don't have to worry about women or being attacked by women. We've been denied all these things. Meanwhile, at the same time, they've been doing a full court press publicly in public spaces to make us uncomfortable, to humiliate us, to criminalize us. Somebody wants us dead. I think genuinely on planet Earth, we are the lowest human beings in the pecking order on planet Earth. White American males, white British males, white English, white Scottish males. We are despised in our own countries, by our own governments, our own women, our own neighbors. We're despised the world over. We're despised in Israel. We're despised no matter where we go. We're persona non grata. Not just socially, though, when it comes to tax dollars, when it comes to grants, when it comes to concern, care. I mean, I've never heard in my life a politician put forward a piece of legislation that only concerned men and for men's benefit. I've never in my entire life ever heard my government, my community think about me, concern itself with me, ask for help from me, or ask if I need help. Not once in my entire life have I ever received anything like that. At best, I got a sort of negligence, like a mild negligence, a mild contempt. My entire life, all my teachers, all the jobs that I've had, it seems like it's been that way. I mean, almost every woman I've ever known, pretty much. I mean, the fact that we all live in our little bubble, we don't socialize. I mean, the country over, white men, especially millennial and below, none of us socialize. None of us go anywhere. We've been cowed into silence, cowed into being hermits, we have been, like I said, basically we've been rendered inert. We've been totally neutered into eunuchs, and we've just laid down for it. And we just want to. It's like we're at home, and that's us saying, please, please, just I won't come out. I won't cause any trouble. Just let me have. Just let me be safe in my own home. Just if you'll just let me be by myself. If you'll just let me be safe if at home, I will self incarcerate. I will remove myself from society, from the community, from the dialogue, from everything. I mean, that's essentially what we've done. We've been told how bad, toxic, terrible we are, and we've just effed off. He said, "Well, I guess shut my big nasty mouth. I guess I'm just not wanted around here." So we've retreated. Is it any wonder? People hate our guts. We don't see each other. No, we don't hang out together because we've been criminal. We've been outlawed from hanging out together. Like, I mean, think about it. Think about it. We're not allowed to gather publicly, specifically and discriminately only men or only white men. We're not allowed. Have you ever even heard of anybody doing such a thing without having masks or hoods on? Because you literally have to put a mask or a hood on to do that. Like, it's insane, dude. It's insane. Like, we're just being told to go somewhere and go extinct, You aren't wanted here. Just go kill yourself, like Nick would say to people, go kill yourself. And we've done that. We've just said, okay, we're committing suicide, we're overdosing, we're hiding, we're not getting married. None of these things. We're not even allowed. Our boys aren't even allowed to have the Boy Scouts. Girls have the Girl Scouts still, of course, but boys don't have the Boy Scouts. We don't have anything anymore. We have nothing. Nothing that is our own. We don't we're not in charge of anything. We have no obligations, no responsibilities. They don't they don't allow us any sort of sovereignty, any sort of responsibility. They won't put us in charge of anything. Basically, yeah, we're just told to go screw off and kill us. Just go die, please. We hate your guts, and we'll leave you alone in your house, but we are going to make sure that we berate you and tell you how much we despise you every day, all day on the internet, all social media. We're just going to make sure that you understand how despised you are in this country and on this planet. And hopefully you'll get the picture and just remove yourself from the gene pool. It'd be if if you could do that, it'd be really nice. Like we'd really appreciate it. Yeah. If you could just go ahead and see yourself out to the next dimension, that would be nice. Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and put a shotgun in your mouth this Saturday and delete yourself because well, this weekend I've got a few things to do. I would help you with that, but you're just beneath me. And what's crazy? It's like, how the hell did we not realize this? How do we not realize that we've been subjugated? We've been turned into a pinata. I mean, we're killing ourselves at a ridiculous clip. It's crazy how, and no wonder, no wonder. We've been stripped of all sense of community, all sense of safety, comfort, camaraderie. Like I'm kind of I can't believe like how did this happen? How did nobody realize this happened? How did nobody have a problem with this? This is incredible. Like I'm truly just I don't understand it. Like what the hell happened? And how is it that this has been allowed? Supposedly we have a constitution. Well, obviously the constitution doesn't mean anything. Obviously the constitution doesn't mean anything. We're not allowed to socialize together. We're not allowed to gather and start a political group or a club. We're not allowed to do that. Everybody else can do that, but not white men. We are Everybody else can do whatever they want except us. We're not allowed to work in corporate. We're basically we've been relegated to hard labor. We're not allowed to work at any business, any company like that. We're not allowed to say we're not allowed to speak our minds. Haven't been for many, many years now. We're basically we're not allowed to run for office. That Graham Plattner, that guy was totally set up until he finally, tapped out. And we had institutions, that were for us and they tried to resist. And if they, like there was a couple country clubs that resisted and they were accused of sexual harassment and $80 million of lawsuits stopped that real quick. Falsely accused of sexual harassment because we wouldn't let women join our club. $80 million in the 80s. If you try to stand up against the establishment, they will literally, you know, rustle up some woman to accuse you of rape or something until you get the picture, until you understand your station in this society. You don't get to decide that. You don't get to have spaces. You are just this despicable, far right, white male. You're, you're allowed to live, but just only that. That's it. You're allowed to live, watch porn, play video games. Anything beyond that, that's gonna be a problem. You're fucking subhuman, man. Bro, you are subhuman, man. You may as well be a fucking chimpanzee, bro. Caged up, locked up. Like, you may as well be that, man. They have stripped out all of our rights, all of our privileges. They've stripped it all down to the responsibilities, the labor, the obligations. We're allowed to work, yes, of course. We're allowed to maintain the society, but we are not allowed to partake in the benefits of that society. We're not allowed to reap the fruits of our own labor. You know, you can waste your life drinking at a bar, piss all your money away getting drunk at a bar. You can waste your life, doing a few different things, like if you're not just going to sit in your room and whack off and play video games, well, you know, they insist that you continue to contribute the same share of maintenance of labor, because all of the jobs that that white men once held, they've been given to somebody else. So now the only job, well, First of all, they need men to maintain the society, but also they want to they've given coloreds and women, they've given them a good income and a good opportunities. Now they don't have, we're the only people left to do sewage work and garbage pickup. We're on shit detail. Don't you see? We're on shit detail. We still occupy the same place in society, or we still occupy the beast of burden. The we still occupy the jackass place of America and the West, but we're not allowed to have any of the benefits that used to come as a result of. We're not allowed. I mean, we're not allowed to have kids. Basically, that's how far it's come. We're not allowed to have kids. It's not that we're not allowed, but again, I had to get that rant out of the way, because I actually do have statistics and stuff. I wasn't bullshitting. Places like Virginia Military Institute, yeah, that since 1830, General Patton went to school there. Robert E. Lee went to school there. 1830, it was a boys' military institute. Not anymore. Not anymore. They were forced to capitulate and admit women in the 80s. We're not even allowed to prepare for combat and death alone. Like we don't have any opportunities that aren't that all the opportunities we have are par for the course. They're everybody gets the same opportunities as we do, then some. That we get no special anything. We don't get anything specifically for us. Nothing. Nothing. We don't get benefits, advantages. We don't get spaces, institutions, respect. Like I said, they have stripped down citizenship to its bare essentials, basically the bare essentials of contribution to the social order, contribution to the economy, but zero privileges that we don't need to contribute. We're allowed to have a driver's license so that we can maintain this, so that we can wage slave, so that we can contribute. Our wages haven't gone up in 40 years. White males without college degrees, our wages have gone down. They've gone down, bro. Why don't we just have them fucking execute us, man? Instead of this. I would prefer the concentration camp. I would prefer the gas chamber to this shit. At least I wouldn't have to fucking suffer. Don't you get it? We're on the extermination list. Except it's a fascinating modern age we live in. They don't have to do that anymore. They can strip us of everything and all but ensure that we will kill ourselves. We're killing ourselves more and at a rate that has never been seen on planet Earth. We just been taking it. Like, man, we just been thank you, sir. May I have another? Grabbing our ankles, looking at the wall. Straight up, grab your ankles and look at the wall because you're fixing to get it. And we've been getting it. We have been getting it. Our wives divorcing us, this sick Sex in the City culture. We've been stripped of everything. Careers, children, like I said, respect, leisure. I mean, everything, man. We don't get anything. Like we are, we have been singled out for destruction. We've been singled out for the box, for solitary confinement. We're like I said, we're not allowed to socialize with each other. We're not allowed to take care of each other. We've been outlawed from looking out and looking after each other because that's the government's job. We're not They have literally criminalized us from taking white men looking after each other because our government has that taken care of. What do we need social clubs for? What do we need unions for? What do we need that for? The government has all those safety nets and stuff, except they're not for you. That's a privilege. That's an advantage. That's a benefit. You are on the free plan. Everybody else is on the pro plan, and we appreciate white men paying for those plans. White men have been paying that yearly fee for everybody else in our country. White men have been paying for their own children to be aborted. They have been paying for their own replacement. They have been paying for their own humiliation. They've been paying for their own cancellation, their own censorship. They've been paying for their own subjugation, their own enslavement. How else can you put it? How else? I mean, what else would you call it, man? What else would you call this shit that we have inherited, that we have been singled out for? What else would you call this, man? And if any of us dare to, you don't ever see men complaining on the internet, TikTok, none of that shit. They're not allowed. We're not allowed to do that. We're not allowed to speak. We're not allowed to complain. We're not allowed to have an opinion. The you know we are not allowed to have an opinion. And white men. It's not that white men have been outlawed, but they have issued us our own personal mouthpieces, and more over the majority of those are Jays, are Israelis. We're not allowed to have representation. I mean, we're not allowed to be the king of our own castle. Not allowed, to take care of our own families. We're not allowed to see our kids. I mean, we're the you know that this we're basically enslaved, man. There are so many doors that are shut to us. So many. Almost everything has a standard for us and a standard for everybody else. Everything. Everything. It's like, how did this happen? How is it that, and they've done this so incrementally, so slowly, that it's like, we're on a raft or something out in the middle of the ocean, and they just keep subtracting from the part of the raft that we're allowed to be on. At this point, we're in the water and we have a finger holding, touching the raft. That's all that we're allowed survival. That we're not allowed anything but survival. We're allowed to live day to day. That's as far as our privilege goes. That's as far as our sovereignty, as far as our opportunity goes. We are allowed to exist, nothing more. Nothing more. You can work, but you can't lead. You can work, but you can't rise. You can date, but you can't get married. You can't have a family. You can have friends, but you can't hang out with too many of them at once. You know, like everything's been made off limits to us except for misery. We're allowed to become drug addicts. We're allowed to become drunks. We're allowed to become, you know, video game addicts, porn addicts. We're allowed to suffer, in other words. We are allowed to suffer, fellas. White men in America and in the West in general, that's all that we're guaranteed is suffering. That's it. We're guaranteed to suffer, and we're guaranteed to be ignored. We're guaranteed to be treated as though dogs are treated better than we are. Bears are shown more affection than we are. I mean, I honestly, I can't even, it blows my mind. It's so, like, I can't, I'm not even, it's like, I'm not even really pissed. I just can't believe it. Like how dirty that we've been done, how and everybody has just accepted it, including us. And nobody points it out. Nobody thinks there's anything wrong except for a few guys on YouTube. Nobody thinks there's anything wrong with this. We're not even allowed to be pastors or spiritual leaders in churches. We've been stripped of all that. Like, it's pretty wild, man. It's pretty wild. It kind of, I'm thinking to myself, like, why? Like, are they really, like, they're that concerned? Like, I'm kind of amazed that they didn't just put us out of our misery. I guess they raised this stupid cult about the Holocaust, and they don't want to come off like Hitler, but it's obvious and it's clear that they see us on par with how the Nazis saw Jays. Like, it's pretty unreal. And what's crazy is, like, yeah, that's my rant. And that's not all. Like, that was the appetizer, basically.
That works out to be. And by the end of this video, roughly 200 more will be dead from suicide or overdose in the United States alone. 40,000 a year, give or take, in a single country. And most of them weren't famous. Their notes will never make the news. They were welders, line cooks, ex-Marines, retired trekkers, fathers who stopped picking up their kids, who stopped calling their moms. Almost 80% of every American suicide is male. The US Surgeon General put out a public advisory in May 2023, and the headline number from that report should have stopped the country cold. Chronic loneliness, the report said, carries roughly the same mortality risk as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The risk exceeds obesity, exceeds air pollution, exceeds physical inactivity. In 1990, 55% of American men say they had at least 6 close friends. By 2021, that number had collapsed to 27. The share of men who reported having 0 close friends, none at all, climbed from 3% to 15%, a 5-fold increase in a single generation. population. Single-person households in the United States went from 13% in 1960 to 29% by 2022. Among 15 to 24-year-olds, in-person time spent with friends fell roughly 70% over 2 decades. Across all age groups, the average American now spends about 333 minutes a day alone, up from 285 in 2003. Time with friends in person fell from about 60 minutes a day to about 20. The country has watched this happen and produced almost nothing in response. No serious civil project, no
That's how you know it's by design. That's how you know. In utter contempt. We must be so despised, truly just held in utter contempt.
bipartisan plan, no replacement for what got dismantled. Because here's the part that almost nobody is willing to say out loud. The institutions that used to absorb American men, the lodges, the unions, the churches, clubs, the fraternal halls, the boys-only schools, the boys-only youth groups, the corner bars, the local rotaries, and Lions and Elks and Odd Fellows were not lost in some accident of history. They were targeted, sued, integrated, defunded, defamed, and rebranded out of existence over the course of about 40 years. And while that was happening, a parallel ecosystem of women-only spaces was built right next to the rubble, wholly legal, wholly funded, and unchallenged. So this video is not a complaint, it's a measurement. And I'll lay out exactly how that asymmetry got built into American law, into American culture, into American economics, into the dating market, into politics, and into the suicide rate. This is the story of the end of male spaces, the rise of female ones, and the men who got left in the gap between them. And it ends in a place that almost everyone on every side of the political map should find disturbing. This is Front Page. In 1897, a journalist named W.S. Harwood sat down for the North American Review and tried to count how many American men belonged to a secret fraternal order. His estimate was 5.4 million, about 1 in 5 adult men in the entire country. That figure is almost impossible to picture today. 1 in 5 adult men in the country in 1897 paid annual dues to a brotherhood with secret handshakes, ranks, oaths, and weekly meetings. Bosses, dentists, mailmen, football coaches, and accountants belonged to lodges as a matter of normal life. By 1990, there were more than 568 distinct fraternal orders in the United States, with over 6 million combined members across more than 350 organizations. The Sears Roebuck catalog of 1900 sold 80 different lapel pens, watch fobs, and charms representing 28 different orders. A man could buy a ring for one of these through the same catalog he ordered work boots from. These were the giants. The Freemasons hit roughly 4 million American members at their peak in the 1950s. The Independent Order of Odd Fellows had close to 1 million by 1900. Behind them sat the Benevolent and Protective Order of.
You know, Con, that's what I was saying before when I said they have stripped us of all of our dependence and responsibility because, you know, other people relied on us. So they couldn't totally strip us of everything. Now that they have closed off any opportunity to start a family or, you know, to have a career, they've closed that off. Now we don't have any responsibilities, and now is when the flood. Now is when we get the real stuff. Now they're hitting us with their true. Like, we're being made to suffer, truly. And now that nobody is depending on us, they can just, you know, abandon us to what are they? Exposure. They can just let us wither away and die. I mean, that's essentially what's been happening to us since the beginning of the century.
Elks, the Loyal Order of Moose, the Knights of Pythias, the Knights of Columbus, and the Improved Order of Red Men, the Modern Woodmen of America, and the Loyal Order of Hibernians. These orders functioned as something specific. In modern terms, they were the welfare state before the welfare state existed, before Social Security passed in 1935, before Medicare arrived in 1965. The Oddfellows and the Moose and the Modern Woodmen ran what amounted to private insurance for working class men. A roofer who broke.
And like Con particularly and other people talking about healthcare and stuff. I don't want that shit. I do not want it. Not from this government. I want what they had. I want safety nets with my neighbors. Like if I need, we kind of have to be a part of a pool, liability pool or whatever you call it. I want to start one. I want to have a private one with people that I know and people that I trust, people that I care about, people that I want to help. It was an absolute trap. Social Security and all that stuff. It got us to get rid of our they got us to scrap our self-sufficient way of life because we had learned how to get along without welfare. We had a way of doing it. We had this stuff figured out. We had it all figured out. But then at the end of the 19th century, beginning of the 20th century, they stripped us of all that, turned us into wage slaves, turned us into dependents so they could control us. If you're self-sufficient and you're on private insurance pools, well, then they can't manipulate you. They can't control you. They can't hold that money over your head if you don't want to play ball. If you decide that you're not going to self-censor, or you're not going to allow them to cancel you. We have been totally rendered inert. We've been basically destroyed. We've been destroyed as a people, as a demograph. I mean, there's no denying it. We're finished. We're finished. I don't think there's no coming back from this, man. We're finished. And slowly they did it. Slowly they took everything from us, but what do they say? Rome wasn't built today. And white American men were the most self-reliant, most industrious humans on the planet, built the greatest civilization ever. That's gone. That's totally gone, man. They relieved us of that. Now, and like I was saying before, think about all of like the Freemasons and the Elks and the Moose. Think about how many of our forefathers and ancestors and founders, how many of them belong to these clubs? Think about all the institutions that they started and that they frequented. Those were all dismantled and demolished, so that and now we have no connection with those men, with our past, with our ancestors. They destroyed everything. There's no doubt in my mind that, dude, there would be clubs and stuff that would say, famously the club that Abraham Lincoln used to frequent. No, we don't get that. None of that. They destroyed it all. They stripped our society and us of everything, of every opportunity, every resource, every position. It's pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible.
his back got rent money from the lodge. A miner who
Our
died of
boys aren't even
tuberculosis
allowed
at
to have the Boy Scouts anymore. The Boy Scouts are gone. And they're not gone because they just they weren't financially sound or something, or because they were poorly run, or they didn't have a market, or people didn't like them anymore. No. No. They're gone because they were targeted and destroyed, sued into oblivion. And essentially, we have, these social clubs, they're a big deal and they're popular. And none of this, when all the feminists targeted this stuff, they didn't want to be a part of these clubs. They had no desire to be a part of these clubs. No, it was about exerting power and dominance over us. It was about gathering scalps. It was about laying the great man low. It was about cutting white men down a peg or two. The 20th century was a black century for us, my friends. They took everything from us. And these institutions, like these clubs and stuff, it didn't, when I was first watching this, I was thinking to myself, this is crazy. What the hell? Why, what were they doing that's so wrong? Like, I had friends of mine, their parents were a part of a Moose Lodge, and I used to skateboard at a Freemasons. They just drink a little bit and hang out. That's it. And they pay dues, they pay property taxes and all that stuff. But they're not making these things exclusive to exclude women, or to deprive them of resources, deprive them of opportunities. It's purely a social thing. Hanging out and talking and thinking and sort of just chopping it up with each other and talking about your different ideas and whatnot. And that's what I see in that, is that this was political. This was them rendering us politically inert, destroying white American men, conservative American men, destroying their power, destroying their position in our society, destroying everything that built this country, destroying everything those men built, or at least totally taking these institutions over. And what's crazy, like, there's a need for these sort of institutions, but only insofar as they're men's clubs. Because if they're co-ed, then they're not successful. They're not successful. These women, they don't want to be a part of it. They just don't want it to exist. They don't want to be a part of it, but they also don't want us to have them. They don't want us to talk to each other. They don't want us to commiserate and to compare notes. And they don't want to have to worry about it. They don't. It's an edge. When men are together and talking, they do great stuff, especially us. So they destroyed it all. And they had it wasn't like they were jealous and upset that they didn't belong. No, they thought they didn't want anything to do with it. They just didn't want us to have it. Like, do you think it's a coincidence that we're nothing today? Like, that we have been laid low. We've been turned into a totally inert, bunch of beta cucks, basically. That's because they took our community from us. They took our sense of camaraderie. That's where our fucking power came from. That's what it was like. Our hair. We were Samson, and that was our hair. Was our social clubs and our fucking our union, sort of like private unions with dues and stuff, and uh auxiliary clubs, Rotary clubs. That was where our fucking power came from. Now we're nothing. We're nothing. They stripped it. Like, obviously, there's some degree of to some degree, these social clubs, these all men or only men only institutions are secret sauce. This shit is special sauce to some degree, and we have been outlawed. We're not allowed to, you see. Oh, that's just because, an arbitrary rule. No, it's because that's where our political power came from. That's where our fucking mojo, our libido, that's where our political fucking mojo was. And we gave it up. And we don't even know that we're missing something. We don't even know. We don't even realize how fucking profound this loss is, because we're totally unaware that it's something we've lost. Like, dude, this is diafucking-bolical. We have one foot in the grave right now because of this. Across the West, we're going extinct because of this. Obviously, this socializing and this exclusivity, the discriminatory nature of men's only clubs. Obviously, there's some sort of this is a secret sauce. This is some sort of vitality. And we're just not allowed to do it. So much for the Constitution, bro. So much for the fucking Constitution. What does that piece of paper even fucking mean? It means nothing. We don't have the right to gather anymore. We don't have the freedom of association anymore, or the freedom of speech. Shiloh Hendricks gets convicted of saying the N-word. Bro, this country is a hollowed out shell. We have been injured so dearly. The amount of the founding fathers and American men were the freest men in modern history, in Western civilization. We are the least free men in Western history, other than slaves and indentured servants and eunuchs. But we're like the least free in the last, at least since the 60s. Y'all don't see a problem here? You're not exercised over this? You guys not understand how profound this is? You guys not realize that this is the cause of our current miseries? They simultaneously stripped us of all these institutions, and at the same time empowered women with the money, the funds, and the space. And now they're doing, they're doing pretty good. Obviously, the social fucking clubs have something to do with our failure, have something to do with European men's success in the past. And, I guess we've contented ourselves to destruction, to utter humiliation and extinction. And our government, our own society, our own civilization did this to us. Our own women did this to us. And, They get to lie in the bed with us too. America's not going to fucking exist at the end of by the end of the century. That's on them. That is on them. I'm not fucking taking the fall for this shit. Fuck them. Hell no. Hell no. This shit is fucking crashing and burning around us. It is. It is. And it's not my fucking fault. That's a fact. It's not my fault. They can fucking enjoy that bit of responsibility, that bit of accountability, because it wasn't us. You know, all was well when we clocked out from Firewatch, when we bedded down by the campfire. They were the ones on watch, not us. And you know, like, you know, make no mistake about it. We're watching the fucking our shit is the Hindenburg right now, and it's crashing and burning in slow fucking motion, bro. That's what's happening. It's crashing and burning in slow motion, and we get to watch, man. We get to watch. Isn't that some? I mean, it's what a great generation to be born in. What a great and I was dealt anyway.
38 got the funeral covered and left his widow a small stipend. An orphan son went to the lodge's orphanage. The modern woodmen of America.
These lodges, they built orphanages for kids that were a part of it. They're still around. These orphanages that these social lodges built, they still exist. And these social clubs, you know, they still exist today. They're insurance companies. That is how fucking effective this shit was. That is how fucking egregious this injury, this loss is. Like, bro, straight up, man. This is a very profound injury. I mean, this is like revolutionary. This is worthy of revolution, what has been done to us. And there is no denying it, bro. We don't have as much freedom as women do in America. We don't have as much freedom as colored people. Not even close. Not even fucking close, man. Like, and nobody would argue that. Nobody would say that they want to trade places with, you know, millennial or Gen Z white men. Literally, I don't think those fucking dudes in Morocco would want to trade places with us. You know, they're desperate to get into Europe because they aren't white men. That's why they're like hooting and hollering, because all sorts of positions just opened up in that civilization because they've been busy executing white men. It's pretty wild, man. Like, the utter futility. It's all so tiresome, man.
Still exists today as a commercial life insurance company. Woodmen of the World does too. Same with the Independent Order of Foresters. The lodges came first and the insurers came second, only flipping later. Black men locked out of white insurance markets and white fraternities built their own. Prince Hall Freemasonry, founded in 1784, the Grand United Order of Odd Fellows in 1843, and the Improved Benevolent and Protective Order of Elks of the World in 1899. These parallel orders served identical functions: mutual aid, burial benefits, mentorship, identity, a safe room. The Harvard political scientist Robert Putnam, in his book Bowling Alone, attributed roughly half of the post-1960 collapse in American civic engagement to the loss of these institutions. Not because the buildings burned down, but because nobody under 40 bothered to join them. The demand side of the lodge collapse runs through generational tastes and competing pastimes. The supply side runs through the United States Supreme Court. In 1984, a 7-0 Supreme Court decision, with 2 of the 9 justices recused, killed repealed the all-male civic club as an American legal category. The case was Roberts versus United States Jaycees. The Jaycees were the junior chamber of commerce. Founded in 1920, around 235,000 dues-paying members at peak, distributed across 7,400 local chapters. Voting members were reserved for men aged 18 to 35. Women and older men were allowed to come, allowed to volunteer, allowed to pay associate dues, but they could not vote and they could not hold leadership. Two Minnesota chapters, the Minneapolis Jaycees and the St. Paul Jaycees, broke ranks and started admitting women as full voting members. The national organization threatened to revoke their charters. The chapters sued under the Minnesota Human Rights Act, a state public accommodations law that banned sex discrimination in commercial settings. The Jaycees defended themselves with the First Amendment. Freedom of association, they argued. The Jaycees called themselves a private group with the right to pick their own members and no obligation to let the state dictate the shape of the membership. Justice William Brennan wrote the majority opinion, and he split the right of association into two pieces. Intimate association, like marriage and family, got the strongest protection. Expressive association, like a political party or a church group, got real protection as well. But the Jaycees, Brennan ruled, were neither. They were too big, too commercial, too open in their recruiting, so the state's compelling interest in ending sex discrimination won. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor wrote a concurrence that mattered just as much. She argued that the Jaycees were a business in all but name, networking, job leads, career advancement, so treat them like one.
Bro, what is the point of the Constitution? What is the point of the amendment that says freedom of association if they make laws and judges rule that no, you can't associate together because that's like a business and you're not allowed to discriminate in a business. It's not a business, but there's money. You get what I'm saying? The Constitution doesn't mean shit because they just set up another law that outlaws it. This country is not like, it's not worth saving. We've been shut out of it. They want us gone. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious that this has been done on purpose. And, we're just shit out of luck, man. I mean, and this is like, there's another 30 minutes. It gets worse.
Subject the Jaycees to the same anti-discrimination rules as any other business. The concurrence is what dismantled the rest. 3 years later, in 1987, the same logic killed Rotary International's men-only rule. The case was Board of Directors of Rotary International versus Rotary Club of Duarte. A Rotary chapter in Duarte, California, had admitted 3 women, Donna Bogart, Mary Lou Elliott, and Rosemary Freitag, in 1977. Rotary International, which at that time had nearly 20,000 clubs and over 900,000 members across 157 countries, revoked the chapter's charter for it. California sued under the state's Civil Rights Act, the same kind of public accommodations law Minnesota had used against the Jaycees. 7-0 again. Rotary lost. Within 2 years, at the 1989 Council on Legislation in Singapore, Rotary's worldwide governing body voted 328 to 117 to strike men only from the international constitution. Today, about a quarter of Rotary's global membership is female. Lions Club followed. Kiwanis followed. The dominoes were lined up and they fell in sequence. In 1988, the court ruled in New York State Club Association versus City of New York that Local Law 63, a New York City ordinance forcing private clubs.
Does this stuff look familiar to you guys? Is this not exactly how they go after the mafia and RICO cases? Our government and the West literally went after men and all these institutions with basically RICO cases and destroyed all of them. They basically, we were criminals and we had too much power. So they fucking cooked up some laws, they cooked up an idea and destroyed us. Literally destroyed us. Destroyed everything. The whole edifice. It looks to me like this was our secret sauce. This was the West and white men's. This was their recipe here. Was that they got together and helped each other and dealt with each other fair. We're just straight up being we're fucking slaves, man. Like we're slaves, dude, or at least indentured servants. And like I said, our wages haven't even been stagnant. They've fallen since these clubs were outlawed. And it's only the men's only clubs. And as soon as those are outlawed, the clubs altogether disappear. They altogether disappear. When women join them, they're not the same. So basically, these institutions were powerful. They were powerful. They allowed us to do everything we did, win World War II, all these different achievements. And the men's only part was like the important part. That was the sauce, that was what made it happen. So making these things co-ed is essentially, I mean, they've outlawed gathering and social. They've outlawed social clubs. Like the Little Rascals, the He-Man Woman Haters. Yeah, they can't do that. You guys not realize that, like, we're struggling because of this is how they did this. This is how they laid us low. And people aren't even aware of it. They don't even realize how profound this was, what a massive blow this was to the West and us. And they fucking pinpointed it. They knew where this prowess came from, and they went after it, and they got their scalps, man. They took them down one after another till they fought. I mean, all the way to the Boy Scouts. They took down the Boy Scouts. They're still the Girl Scouts, but not the Boy Scouts. And they didn't want to be Boy Scouts. They just didn't want us to be Boy Scouts either. It's too unfair. We have too much of an advantage.
With more than 400 members and regular meal service to admit women was constitutional. That ended men-only membership at the New York Athletic Club, the Cosmos Club in Washington, and a long list of similar institutions. In 1996, in United States versus Virginia, a 7-1 court ruling written by Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, with Justice Clarence Thomas recused because his son was enrolled.
She made a special project out of this place that, where General Patton went, Robert E. Lee. She literally castrated it, destroyed it. And she did it out of spite. She did it as a scalp. She did it to roar, "I am woman, hear me roar." Not so girls could go to the VMI. No. It was to grab men by the turf of their hair and force them to look over and watch as these women pissed on the ashes of us. They pissed on everything that we had in the world, basically, the feminists. And that's all that this exercise was for this RBG. It was an exercise of dominance. He was humping us. It's like when a male dog gets humped by a female dog. It's to assert her dominance. We just took it.
there struck down the men-only admissions policy at the Virginia Military Institute. VMI was the last all-male public college in the United States, founded in 1839. The state of Virginia had tried to compromise by setting up a parallel program for women at Mary Baldwin College, the Virginia Women's Institute for Leadership. Ginsburg called it a pale shadow, not equal. The remedy was admission, not separation. VMI's Board of Visitors voted 9-8 to
Nope. You can't have secret sauce. Nope. You can't have traditions. It's unfair. It's too unfair. We want your position. We want what you have. And if you have these institutions, we can never or we can never overtake you. We have to, this is an unfair advantage. We have to take it from you. We have to tie your hands behind your back so that it's so women will never catch up with men if we don't take everything from men. We have to take everything. I mean, this is akin to what was done to slaves in America, how they were cut off from their past, cut off from their own people and people that spoke their language. That's what's been done to us. And people wonder why we're atomized and this and that. That's why. They did their diabolical work all too well. I mean, they look how thorough and efficient and perfectly they did it. They totally one-shotted us.
admit women rather than convert the school into a private institution. They mailed 35,000 applications to high school girls across the country. 30 enrolled in the fall of 1997. 23 made it through the rat line, which is the brutal first-year hazing program every cadet has to survive. The Princeton story, though, is the one that captures the texture of the whole era best. In the fall of 1977, a Princeton sophomore named Sally Frank walked into the office of the Dean of Student Affairs to register for Bicker, which is the cutthroat membership selection process at Princeton's elite eating clubs. She wrote her name down as SB Frank and checked the box that read male. A few days later, she got Bicker appointments to all 5 of Princeton's most selective eating clubs. 3 of them were men only. Cap and Gown and Tower Club had already gone co-ed. Cottage, Ivy, and Tiger Inn had not. Sally Frank showed up to her Bicker meetings as a woman. The clubs were not amused. Cottage Club's president told the Daily Princetonian that the women applicants were not legitimate candidates. Tiger Inn's president said the women had registered illegally for Bicker. Frank received 0 bids. She filed a complaint with the New Jersey Division on Civil Rights in February 1979. The lawsuit lasted 11 years. She graduated from Princeton in 1980. She enrolled at Rutgers Law. She passed the bar. She represented herself on her own appeal. The case generated 31 volumes and roughly 6,000 pages of court record. Members of Tiger Inn and Ivy Club printed up t-shirts during the litigation that featured a doctored picture of her face with a mustache drawn on, captioned "Better Dead Than Co-ed." A Tiger Inn lawyer showed up to one settlement conference in Playboy bunny suspenders. Cottage Club gave up first, settling in 1986 and going co-ed. Ivy and Tiger Inn fought all the way to the Supreme Court of New Jersey. On July 3rd, 1990, the New Jersey Supreme Court ruled in a unanimous opinion by Justice Marie Garibaldi that the eating clubs functioned in a symbiotic relationship with Princeton, qualified as places of public accommodation under New Jersey law, and could no longer exclude women. Tiger Inn appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. The court declined to hear it in January 1991. In February 1991, 27 women bickered Tiger Inn for the first time. In 2015, Tiger Inn elected its first female president. That was the legal pattern. Sue, win, force open. Move on to the next club. The Augusta National Golf Club resisted longer than almost anyone. In 2002, the chair of the National Council of Women's Organizations, a woman named Martha Burke, sent a letter to Augusta's chairman, William Hoodie Johnson, asking the club to admit women members. Johnson's reply became famous. "There may well come a day when women will be invited to our membership," he wrote, "but that timetable will be ours and not at the point of a bayonet." Burke staged the protest at the 2003 Masters. About 30 supporters showed up. CBS aired the 2000.
Essentially, all of these institutions, they're specifically the secret sauce of white men without college diplomas. These social clubs is what made a middle class in America. It's what made white men so successful in America. They didn't take this from the wealthy. They took this from the poor white men of America, and like that's all they hurt. They didn't hurt anybody with wealth. They just hurt the people struggling the most. That's literally it. And families, that was like the great equalizer. And the fact that our civilization almost for sure, like assuredly, pretty damn near 100% of the time, funneled men and women into marriage and child rearing and raising a family young. The women young, and like the women would be at like 18, 19, 20, and the men would be at 23. Think of how many Americans or people have died because they didn't have a social order that pressured them into getting married at 18 or 20 and settling down and living a safe life and raising children. That's what I mean when that was the great equalizer. Think of like average people, dumb people. Can you imagine how many people have died because they didn't have a social order basically forcing them to live a good life and to not get into drugs, to not chase women, to not, become a drunk, join a motorcycle gang? How many women and men have died because they were encouraged not to settle down and get married in their teens? Imagine, I mean, you can't overstate how fucking important this is. And that it's been stripped from people. And people are left to fend for themselves. They don't have a community. They've taken our community from us for everybody, women and men, black and white. And people are left to fend for themselves in a super dangerous world. They have no friends, no network or community to rely on. And they don't have, something as wholesome and as occupying as a family to keep them out of trouble. Bro, everybody I grew up with is dead because of this. They're all dead. I should be dead. And it's because some bitter, evil, diabolical feminist and crooks, corrupt, whoever, communists, businessmen, thieves, and corrupt politicians. They steered this society and this civilization away from the highest good and steered people away from virtue, away from pointing at the highest good there is. I mean, when I think about how important or how big of a deal it would be that, or if the number one pressure you felt at 18 was to get married and have kids and take on responsibility and provide. Bro, there's millions of fucking men in their graves, right? Millions of men and women in their graves right now that never had kids, that never got to live their life because feminists weren't happy with living a long natural life. They had to have more. Like, can you imagine like the gall that it takes for somebody to live a long and healthy and relatively uh easy and good life to totally trash everything that brings that about in their country because they were dissatisfied and they feel like they could have if they had had the same opportunity as a man, they would have done such and such, or man, I really wanted to do this, that, and the other. I ended up getting stuck in a marriage and having babies. Some ungrateful piece of shit that gets those kind of blessings, or doesn't get them, ends up being an old maid school teacher, but then decides to burn the whole fucking system down and basically condemn millions of people to fucking early graves, miserable lives. Bro, I mean, that's what happened. These feminists, these people need to go down in history as Satan incarnate. These selfish, entitled pieces of shit, man. I'll never look at a feminist the same again. They are fucking evil, resentful, bitter, spiteful, entitled, egocentric, petty little pathetic children. They're fucking children. And it's just crazy. They took something that was good, something that was better than all the fucking years and all the lives that came before them. They lived a better life than any human that came before them. And it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough for them. Probably billions of people would have been happy with that. But it wasn't good enough for them, so they fucking burned the whole thing down. Make no mistake, they fucking burned it down. Like, bro, this, like I said, have you ever watched the Hindenburg? These people, like, they dissatisfied with the 80 years they were given. That wasn't good enough. Typical fucking female. Literally this fucking Eve, bro. Literally, we're in the Garden of Eden. We finally got to a comfortable place, a life of leisure from working after thousands of years. And some stupid fucking strumpet burns it all down because she didn't get to be a CEO, because she didn't get to run a mom and pop store. She ended up having kids. Bro, fuck this life, man. Like, it's incredible. It's fucking incredible, man. Like, it's genuinely, I'm not so sure that it's worth the fucking squeeze, man. Like, the more years I live, the more I realize, like, fuck, man. Like, I look forward to the day I die. Truly. Like, dude, like, and I just, sometimes I think, like, bro, I have another fucking another fucking 35 years of this shit. And it's just like, honestly, I want no part of it, dude. I think people are awful, man. They're awful. And it's resentful fucking scum, dude. I mean, that's literally what fucking Christianity was the purpose of it was to console bitter people and keep them from shit and burning it all down. Because they're just the exception, not the rule. It's rare for people to have lives like that. But some people, they have like this main character syndrome. And if they didn't get, if they're not, beautiful and a fucking genius with a 12-inch cock, then it's not good enough. If they don't have big tits and a nice ass, and they're not a fucking CEO with 8 kids and a fucking, like, then they just, they burn it all down. Man, it's just like, well, fuck, bro. Why? What's the people? It's like they're not fit to live with. Like, bro, the world would be great if it wasn't for people. Like, for real though, if it wasn't for women, I mean, man, and it's just like the more I've been thinking about, it's just like, bro, humans, the further away from nature we get, the further away from a traditional or uh, a meek, modest life we get, the more exaggerated and pronounced these natural flaws in humans, like the flaws of humans. That's what all this stuff is. And we've lived on this fucking planet for a long, long, long time. And it may seem like, shit, for the last 100,000 years, we've been struggling and we've been going through this and that. But actually, that's not true. You know, the last 100,000 years was probably head and shoulders powers, or what is it, from, uh, or I forget, to the nth power, powers, multiples times better. Because there there have already been the people that dive on the barbed wire, people that jump over the barbed wire and take one for the team. All the human beings that lived for like, that, because there was a lot of history that happened, you know, back then. There were huge wars. Like there was a period of time where we got down to only 1,500 individuals on the entire planet. Oh yeah, there have been some rough times on this planet. But luckily, other people went into the breach first before us. Other people dove on the barbed wire for us so we could just step over it. We take so much for granted. Our culture, just shit like understanding how to make pottery, understanding, you know, how to what kind of a lifestyle, or how to what kind of a family, or how things should be done. We've had just tons of people before us figure all that out for us. So much that we didn't have to struggle. But the thing is, though, is that the way of life that human beings lived for the last 100,000 years didn't change almost at all for that entire time. So human beings got pretty good and pretty efficient at living, having children, raising a family, and living their whole life and avoiding tragedy, avoiding catastrophe. Pretty good at it. Well, and they had their security blanket. They had the instruction set. They knew exactly what they had to do. Build a little dugout or a little hovel with, the sod roof or thatched roof. You know, pick up a trade, become a blacksmith or whatever, get a woman and, live. And, it was like tried and true. And they've been doing it for 100,000 years. Well, yeah, we're not in Kansas anymore, fellas. We're not in Kansas anymore. All of that shit, all that tradition and all that stuff, it ain't it doesn't mean dick anymore. It can't help us anymore. We're in a totally different new era, totally different. Everything is different. Everything. We have no idea what we're doing. And we're going to have to get used to making a fuckload of mistakes. Like I'm talking about, extinction level mistakes, like wiping everybody off, everybody damn near being wiped off. That's what I'm saying is we have just stepped into uh, a reality that we don't have elders and past and history to guide us. We we're the ones blazing the trail, and all these different flaws in human beings, our little idiosyncrasies and peccadillos are, our vanity, our self-absorption, just, stuff that's kind of like a foible, but it was a foible. That shit's gonna it's gonna get us killed going for, that kind of stuff is going to wipe human beings out. It's a lot of people are gonna die because of mistakes and because of poor, crazy people with shitty attitudes, or people with, that are ruled by pathologies, like narcissists like those people. All the last 100,000 years, our society knew how to deal with those people and knew how to orient themselves and knew how to maneuver to, to not get screwed by those people and get affected by those people. And now all I can see is human flaws, just waylaying whole fucking groups and demographics, and huge swathes of human beings are being just fucking wiped out because of human flaws, the human condition. And it's like, God damn it, dude, I don't want to be a part of this, man. I don't want to die because some asshole is a fucking narcissist. Some asshole is a fucking scumbag. And all, some woman, all she can think of is herself and everything she thinks is owed to her entitled, bratty, you know, tantrum throwing childish ass of, I mean, and that's what it is. That's what, these people, things are gonna be really hard because of these people. Like the position we're in right now, who do you think that's because? That's because of a bunch of resentful women, a bunch of resentful communists or coloreds. And dude, this just a small percentage, and this is the kind of evil they've been able to wrought on all of us. And the last century is anything to judge from. Like, man, we fucked up, man. We fucked up by letting these people get a taste, and like so bad, man. I mean, we may never recover. We may never recover from this. I mean, there's a reason why the Bible says this stuff. There's a reason why Eve got them thrown out of the fucking Garden of Eden. Nothing is ever good enough for a woman. Nothing. They ruin marriages every day because nothing is ever good enough. They've destroyed millions of lives, their children, their husbands, their own lives. They've just destroyed, they've immiserated so many souls. And it's because white men could not fucking do what was right and what was just. Now, justice is just a fucking abstract idea. It doesn't exist on planet Earth anymore. No, fairness, merit doesn't exist here anymore. We're not a merit-based society. We're a chaos-based society. These women, they're waving these Muslims into their country. I seen one yesterday. She's dancing with these scumbags. You know what? You know what's taking place there? This woman is literally sacrificing her civilization because she sees it as an opportunity to show everybody how not racist she is. Look at me, everyone. This African just broke into my country and I'm grooving with him. See how not racist I am? See what a good person I am? See how much better I am than that fucking racist white guy right there. See, what aren't I a good person? I'm over here, I'm grooving with this guy who wants to rape me. I'm grooving. I'm having, am I, you know, am I virtuous yet? Do you see how not racist I am? Do you see how special I am? Like, that's what's going on, bro. That's what these fucking bimbos, these stupid fucking strumpets are doing. It has nothing. They don't give a fuck about this colored guy. They don't give a fuck about him. All they care about is validation. All they care about is proving their bona fides. All they care about is being above other people on the cult hierarchy, on the Holocaust religion hierarchy. I mean, that's essentially what it is. And this whole modern thing, we don't have a religious ethos. Like, it's not built on that. Like, Christianity is built on do unto others as you wish to, or treat others as you wish to be treated. This current cult that we have, it's not based on an ethos. No. No, what it is based on is that uh it's based on Hitler and the most evil, Hitler being Satan incarnate. This cult, this Western civilization, it doesn't have a positive ambition or a positive outlook or a positive, motto. No, what it did was it identified the most evil thing ever, the most evil thing. They basically said, use Hitler as Satan, the example of Satan. And their religion is based on doing the opposite of Satan. That's why we're all Nazis. That's why we're all fascists. Because they have to point out who the people that are evil, like, that are Satan like Hitler, because then that, by subtraction, and by because you're Satan and they're pointing out you're Satan, they must be the opposite. They must be virtuous. That's what this is. That's what this is. They have staked out the worst thing you could possibly be, the worst person you could, basically. And then they associate everything, like, and they had to basically caricature Hitler. They had to make Hitler they had to make him more, more. There's been worse things in human history than World War II. But that's why they exaggerate Hitler and then they play down everybody else. Because he serves as Satan for them. And they don't have any sort of a positive affirmative ideology or idea. No, they've just said, "Oh, that's evil." And now, the religion is to be the opposite. And that's why these people say no illegals on stolen land. That's why these people say nationalism is fascism. Nationalism is the most evil. You're an evil murderer. That's why everything associated with Hitler. I mean, first of all, humans have nuance. No human is Satan. No human is pure evil. But that doesn't matter. They just exaggerated Hitler. But that's the whole thing that's going on here is they've set up a new religion, and it has its priests and its monks and stuff and its academics, the teachers and the trans people and the the people that do their weird podcasts where they're like 40 and they're trans, but they have a podcast for kids. Like, yeah, that's what. And and those and then they have a special few people who give everybody their marching orders. They have a few mouthpieces that come out and set the tone and tell everybody how to feel about things. And that's the whole thing. The whole kit and caboodle is they tell you, or they set up a hierarchy and they tell you how to get to the top. Basically, they decide what gets you to the top. And this is what being a normie is. Normies are sacrificing their own children, to get, you know what I mean? Like they're willing to do anything to get to the top of that, to be a virtuous person. They will let brown people in to rape their friends and to like, that's what I'm saying is all of this is because what matters to a woman is it's not about doing good or being good. It's about looking good. It's about perception, what other people think of you. That's all that matters. That's all that matters. And that's why they will they will go to there is no limit to the or no end to the lengths they will go to look good or to look virtuous. They'll say insane stuff, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not thinking about the future. They're not thinking about consequences. They're thinking about short-term validation. They're thinking about fitting in. I mean, it's diabolical. It's destroying us. It is literally destroying us. Well, it's like we're just kind of lulled into like a trance when we're just sitting. We're just, while we're being destroyed the inside out, basically.
2003 and 2004 Masters with no commercials at all because corporate sponsors did not want to be associated with the controversy. Burke's group then pivoted. They went after the corporate boards whose CEOs were Augusta members. 2 sex discrimination lawsuits filed against companies.
You hear that? They wouldn't let these women into some stupid golf club, so they started accusing them of sexual harassment and sexual assault. If you don't capitulate, if you don't bend the knee, they'll put your ass in jail they'll accuse you of rape falsely and throw your ass in jail. That's what kind of a fucking shithole we live in. That's what kind of an oppressive it's basically a dictatorship. We're being oppressed and enslaved by a bunch of trans people and cultists, NPCs, normies, and cultists. It's utterly absurd.
Whose chief executives were club members produced settlements totaling roughly $79 million. In 2012, IBM appointed Virginia Rometty as its CEO. The 4 IBM CEOs before her had all been Augusta members. Rometty showed up at the 2012 Masters in a pink jacket. The implication was clear, and the pressure climbed. On August 20th, 2012, Augusta admitted Condoleezza Rice, the former Secretary of State, and Darla Moore, a South Carolina financier, out of roughly 300 members. The Yale's Skull and Bones, the secret senior society from 1832, opened up the same way. The class of 1991 tapped 7 women for the class of 1992. The alumni board, led for a stretch by William F. Buckley Jr., changed the locks on the tomb at 64 High Street in New Haven on April 1991 to keep the women out. A mail-in vote.
You understand what's going on here? Bill Buckley was fighting this. He was trying to keep them out. Bro, they were destroying the vitality of America. They were destroying America's secret sauce. They were destroying America. They destroyed America, and they destroyed everything we hold dear. Everything that we've been bequeathed by our ancestors and I mean, that's what they're doing when they're transgressing like this. It's not to become a part of these institutions. No, it's to get in them and then hollow them out, totally destroy them from the inside out. They want to wield that power while, for a little while they just totally use it to destroy everything that white men and the West has built.
Of all alumni had come back 368 to 320 in favor of admitting women. Buckley got a temporary restraining order. The alumni board voted 6-2 for admissions in late May 1991. The first woman members joined in the fall of 1992. The Boy Scouts of America held out the longest. Founded in 1906 as a male-only organization, they allowed girls into the venturing program in the 1970s, but the core scouting experience stayed male-only for over a century. In 2017, BSA announced it would admit girls. In 2018, Cub Scouts went co-ed. On February 1st, 2019, the flagship program was rebranded Scouts BSA, and girls joined that too. In May 2024, the entire organization rebranded again. It is now called Scouting America. Scouting America membership had collapsed from roughly 6 million at its peak in 1972 to about 1 million today. The organization filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2020 and exited it in 2024 with a $2.46 billion settlement covering more than 80,000 sex abuse claims. The Girl Scouts of USA, which sued Scouting America over name confusion, has remained girls only. The asymmetry sits in the data, and the data is unambiguous. White male-only civic, social, and educational institutions were being legally pried open one by one. Women's institutions were doing the opposite. They were proliferating, expanding, raising venture capital, and getting explicit legal protection from the same statutory machinery that had been used to integrate the men's clubs. Start with colleges. In 1960, the United States had more than 250 women's colleges. About 30 still operate as women only today, and in the prestige tier, the Seven Sisters is still mostly intact. Leslie, Smith, Mount Holyoke, Bryn Mawr, and Bernard remain all women. Vassar went co-ed in 1969. Radcliffe was absorbed into Harvard. Now compare that to men's colleges. The complete list remaining all-male four-year colleges in the United States as of 2026 is 3. Hampton-Sydney College in Virginia, founded in 1775. Wabash College in Indiana, founded in 1832. And Morehouse College in Atlanta, founded in 1867 as a school for freed black men. And clearly, if those 3 schools are going to survive, they're going to have to learn how to budget their money even better. And luckily, you can too by joining the tens of thousands of active monthly users who use the dollar-wise budget ran by women. The wing raised $2.4 million in seed money, then $8 million in a Series A from Kleiner Perkins and New Enterprise Associates in April 2017. In November 2017, Adam Newman's WeWork led a $32 million Series B. The 2018 Series C was $75 million. Reported peak valuation ranged from $200 to $400 million. Investors included Serena Williams, Meghan, and Alex Morgan. Hillary Clinton, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Jennifer Lopez, and Meryl Streep all dropped in. By early 2020, the wing operated 11 locations, employed 500 people, had over 12,000 members, and had a waitlist of more than 35,000. In August 2018, a male applicant filed a sex discrimination complaint against the wing under New York City's human rights law. The same statute, almost word for word, that had been used in 1988 to force the New York Athletic Club to admit women. The New York City Commission on Human Rights opened a formal investigation in March 2018. By September of that year, the wing had been forced to abandon its women-only policy and adopt what its lawyers called a non-gender restrictive admissions framework. The wing did not survive the change. By March 2020, the New York Times had published a long investigation alleging mistreatment of black and brown hourly staff. Audrey Gelman resigned in June 2020. A 750-member STAC coalition of former and current members demanded refunds. IWG, the parent company of Regus, took a majority stake in early 2021. The chairs were repainted pink to green. The doors closed for good on August 31st, 2022. The same legal mechanism that took down Augusta National, VMI, the Jaycees, Rotary, Cosmos Club, and the New York Athletic Club applied to the wing too. Of all the women-only spaces in the country, the wing was one of the few that got the same treatment. Most actually didn't. A woman-only executive networking club called Chief, founded in January 2019 by Carolyn Childers and Lindsay Kaplan took the lessons of the wing and applied them. Membership runs $5,800 a year for vice presidents and $7,900 to $8,900 a year for C-suite executives. Chief raised a $22 million Series A in June 2019. In March 2022, Capital G, a venture arm of Alphabet, the parent company of Google, led a $100 million Series B at a $1.1 billion valuation. The total funding stands around $140 million. As of late 2022, Chief had roughly 20,000 members and a waitlist of 60,000. Corporate partnerships include Morgan Stanley, IBM, HBO, Goldman Sachs, Nike, Pfizer, and Lockheed Martin. 5 clubhouses operate in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, San Francisco, and Washington. A male-only equivalent of Chief with the same membership model, the same caliber of investors, the same corporate partnerships, and the same valuation doesn't exist anywhere in the United States, and there is no legal path to building one. In fitness, the asymmetry is even sharper. Curves International, the women-only fitness chain founded in 1992 in Harlingen, Texas by Gary and Deanne Heaven, peaked in October 2006 at over 10,000 locations worldwide and 7,848 in the United States. Curves declined sharply after 2010, hammered by the rise of Planet Fitness and other budget gym competition, and as of 2019, it had shrunk to roughly 367 U.S. franchise locations. But the model itself is still legal, still operating, and still building new locations under foreign ownership. HealthWorks Fitness for Women in Boston, founded in 1977. Lucille Roberts, a New York chain founded in 1969. Both still operating, both women only, both legally protected. The protection comes from a tangle of state-level statutory carve-outs. Massachusetts passed an explicit fitness exemption in 1998. New York's human rights law has a single-sex exemption, section 296.16. Connecticut has its own carve-out. The federal Title IX statute at section 1681A-5 exempts traditionally single-sex undergraduate institutions, which is why institutions like Smith remain legally female-only. For men, the equivalent statutory carve-outs do not exist. No state-level exemption permits a male-only fitness chain to operate at scale today. Any attempt to build one would face the same lawsuit that took down the Jaycees in 1984. The conservative legal commentator Eugene Volokh has written about this asymmetry in Reason magazine on multiple occasions. The columnist Jeff Jacoby of the Boston Globe wrote a 2017 piece titled,
Make no mistake, this is 100% why we're dying as a civilization. Like, maybe you guys can't see it. This is what did it. This is what did the coup de grace on Western civilization. This right here. What shit that he said in the last minute. This is what has destroyed us. 100%. You know, until we are allowed to have these institutions again, the West is done. Stick a fork in us. We'll never do anything again. Like, this is it. This is the problem. Obviously, and you know, it makes a lot of sense too. You know, men when they're around each other, they automatically start jockeying for position in a hierarchy. They automatically start sorting each other. And they start making each other better, you know, and having an effect on each other and pushing each other and you know, trading ideas and you know, motivating each other. And honestly, I think that's the secret sauce. And because they took that from us, we're like a ship without a rudder. Maybe we were running on fumes for a little bit. But all of the things that we are denied, everybody else has them, and they're doing great. You know, they're doing great. You heard him talking about that woman's thing where the CEOs and executives, bro, that's what we had. They literally outlawed us from doing that and then set women up, set them up for women. Like, do you guys not see what's going on here and how fucking big of a deal that is? This is supposed to be a free and open. This is supposed to be America, and we're American citizens. Obviously, America, that none of it means shit, obviously, if so blatantly. This isn't merit, this isn't equality. How could you say this is equality? One group is allowed to do something that another group is not allowed to do it over arbitrary details that they can't help. It's all bullshit. It's all a lie. There's no equal. I mean, I knew this already, but like, it's all if it's built on bullshit. And if maybe it was true at some point, but it's not anymore. They have done their diabolical work well. They've spent the last century chipping away incrementally, day by day, chipping away at all of the social institutions and the community institutions that made America great and made us great, American men. Bro, do you guys get this? They said, you guys are too good at this. You're too OP. We need to nerf you. This is supposed to be capitalism. Nobody else thinks this is crazy. And we hear about how great women are doing and how men are this and that. And it's like, well, no shit. You're fucking literally, we're drowning because you're standing on you have your boot on our head, you jackass. No shit, we're struggling. You're fucking holding our head underwater. Duh. Women can do stuff that we can't do. We're not allowed. We're too dangerous, or we're too efficient, or too productive. And they're willing to condemn our civilization, our children. They're willing to doom all them. They're willing to destroy everything just to benefit a few women today. A few women that are going to be miserable anyway when they get to 50 or 60 and they have 50 cats. Like, these women aren't even happy. They're not even like triumphant. Like, yay, look at us, we did it. They're like, fuck, this is fucking miserable. I hate this. Taking all kinds of medication. Like, I mean, I can't get over this. This is one of the most profound injuries, thefts, grievances that I have ever felt. Was perpetrated against me. Like, this has shattered everything that I've ever thought about the West and America and our society and our civilization. It's destroyed everything. It's all bullshit. I didn't much believe it before, but I'm not gonna, I don't give a fuck what black people have been through and what they say. They're fucking, oh, my family was, I don't give a fuck if your family was enslaved. Bitch, I'm enslaved right now. Like, fuck you. Fuck you. I've been fucking condemned to misery and suffering, fucking reclusive, bubble. Just stripped of we've all been just stripped of everything, man. And like, and we can make it stop, but we have to bow to our superiors. We have to happy wife, happy life it. You marry some girl boss who talks down to you and who disrespects you in public, who humiliates you and you happy wife, happy life, and submit, acquiesce to her whenever she wants or makes a decision, and you can have the house and the kids, or one kid or whatever, and you can have the woman, you can have the sex. You just have to fucking all you have to do is renounce any claim to masculinity, any claim to being a man, any claim to having self-respect. We can all do it. We just have to swallow our pride, suck it up. You know, let this chick peg you. Let her peg you. Let her dominate you. Let her penetrate you, and then you can have it all. Like, and that's what they is on offer. You can fucking submit. You can bend over, grab your ankles, and look at the wall, and it'll all stop. It'll all stop. You know, whenever you want, they'll give you mercy. You know, all you have to do is ask for mercy and they'll give it to you. I would rather fucking drink strychnine, to be honest. Like, I'm closer to drinking strychnine or taking strychnine than I am to marrying some modern humanoid, some modern foid, some modern harpy, some modern fucking gorgon bitch with snakes for hair and shit. Like, nah, bro. Like, are you kidding me? I'd rather French kiss a shotgun blast to the face.
At the American Enterprise Institute have made similar arguments for over 20 years. The argument is not that women's gym should be banned, it is that the same statute cannot mean two different things depending on which sex is doing the excluding, but it does. And right now, that asymmetry—
You guys get that? There's a law on the books. What we have laws, but apparently they don't mean dick. Our laws don't mean anything. Our society doesn't mean anything. Laws don't mean shit because they can just exempt you from them, and then you don't have to worry about laws. You know, there's nothing you can do to ensure that you're right and that you're doing good and that there's nothing you can do because they could just move the goalposts. They can just say, well, you see, you're gathering with men. You can't do that. You know, American citizens are not allowed to gather. Oh, you know, except for that group. But, you know, I mean, like that's what's going on. Literally, none of it means anything, you know? If there's any sort of arbitrarity, like that's arbitrary. They can do something that we're not allowed to do because they're female. Simple as that, because they have a vagina. That means, I mean, if that's actually, and it is actually the reason, then everything this country stands for and says that it's about is all bullshit. It's all bullshit. I mean, we already kind of knew this. You know, they let that guy out that stabbed Irina Zarutska in the neck, but like, this takes the cake. This takes the cake because they put a law on the books and say that it means this, except depending on who they're who they're administering the law on, it could mean two different things. Bro, that is totally antithetical to the West, to our society. I mean, the fact that that's the case, none of it is worth a hoot in hell now because of that. It just totally exposed it as a house of cards. The fucking Constitution doesn't mean shit. It doesn't protect a fucking thing. It doesn't protect anything. Because this has been happening since like the 60s or the 70s. And we've been talking about how, oh, we have the Constitution and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't mean dick because they put that shit on the books in the 70s. And the Constitution hasn't had fuck all to say about it, has it? Not fuck all. Like, that's just... And that one, Shiloh Hendricks, she got convicted of saying the N-word. That's just proves it and really goes beyond a reasonable doubt. Like, yeah, you're not allowed to, there's no freedom of speech here. There's no First Amendment. It's a free for all. There's a moving goalpost. It's just whether or not you're the right person. And you don't know how to be the right person. They decide, you know, you approach them in court and they make a ad hoc decision right then and there. Because it doesn't matter what the law says because, you know, if you're the right kind of human being, doesn't matter what's in the book. in the law. Obviously. I mean, I'm very disillusioned. You know, it's like I have nothing to hang on to. There's no rock. There's, nothing uh that's stable, and it's all fucking chaos now. It's like you can't trust anything anymore.
Is the law. The asymmetry has a cause. The legal pressure rolled through every men's institution in the country and then stopped almost on a dime at the door of the women's institutions for a specific reason. The honest answer is that legislators and courts wrote in carve-outs for women's spaces grounded in three rationales. And first, privacy. Locker rooms, fitting rooms, restrooms, and shelters have been single-sex in American law since the 19th century. The principle called bona fide privacy in the case law predates the modern civil rights era by a century. It applies to men's spaces too, narrowly, in those exact same contexts. Second, domestic violence. Bureau of Justice Statistics data shows that women are roughly 70 to 80% of intimate partner violence victims, and the perpetrators are overwhelmingly male. Domestic violence shelters that serve biological women only have a defensible safety rationale that a men-only shelter would have a much harder time articulating in court. Third, religious accommodation. Massachusetts courts and
If this society was everything it says it is, and it was, truly merit-based and this and that, they would not give women those shelters. Yeah, it's tough, but that's justice. That's right. And if you claim to be honorable and righteous and a man of your word and a country of your word and a society of your word, you could not have a double standard. You cannot, that a double standard is ideologically inconsistent, and it stands opposed to everything that this country is supposed to be about. None of it is worth it's not worth the paper it's written on anymore. I mean, not when this that flies in the face of all of our founding documents.
others have held that women-only fitness facilities serve a religious accommodation purpose for some Muslim and Orthodox Jewish women who cannot exercise in mixed-sex environments under their religious obligations. But that argument is not available in the same form for men's
Isn't that
gym.
wild? That's basically segregation. They don't want to be around the unwashed white males. That is exactly what that is. Segregation. It's the same as white people saying, do we have to eat with coloreds in this cafeteria? I don't want to eat like in prison. Like, dude, that's exactly what that is. That's a special rule. We are a second-class citizen. We're just pieces of shit, basically. I mean, there's no other way to put it, man. There's no other way to put it. We're at the bottom of the fucking totem pole. We are the fucking untouchables. We are the unwashed, man. I mean, it's pretty absurd, but bro, Muslim and Jewish women, they don't, we're beneath them. Like that's how bad our position is in society, that Jay and Muslim women, they can flex and not have to be around us. They can totally have us thrown out of I mean, wow, it's pretty crazy.
So they make clear why the carve-outs exist, but it doesn't really apply to most things that we've talked about in this episode so far. So the trouble is that those three rationales, privacy, safety, and religious accommodation, do not justify the full scope of the women-only ecosystem now operating in the United States. A $1.1 billion venture-funded women-only executive club for VPs and C-suite officers at Goldman Sachs is not a domestic violence shelter. A women-only co-working space in the Flatiron is not protecting Orthodox Jewish observance. The wing, when stripped to its operational reality, was an elite networking platform with a sex-restricted door, which is the same pattern the JCs were destroyed for in 1984.
Literally.
This is the legal asymmetry that the law has not resolved. Most public commentators on the right call it a double standard. Their counterparts on the left call it a corrective. The gap between those two readings is where most of the political fight in the United States now lives, and it is also where many of the loneliest men in the country are stuck. The data shows them in detail.
Bro, it's literally, we've been been getting it from all sides. Women have this shit and coloreds have affirmative action. We have literally been under a discrimination regime. We've been living in Jim Crow South. We've been getting discriminated against. We're fucking second-class citizens since the 60s. Since the 60s, there has been state-sanctioned discrimination and oppression. This is supposed to be a democracy? And they wonder why it's collapsing. They wonder why they couldn't raise an army tomorrow. I mean, why they haven't just fucking rounded us up and just, put us in camps. And I beats me, because they've all but done that.
Men have lost their institutional infrastructure faster than any other group in the country, and the consequences of that loss are no longer abstract. They show up in mortality. Start with education. In 1970, men earned 57% of all bachelor degrees in the United States. By 2021, men earned 42%, the lowest male share on record. There are now roughly 2.4 million more women than men enrolled in U.S. undergraduate programs. Among Americans aged 25 to 34, 47% of women hold a bachelor's degree, compared to 37% of men. The K-12 pipeline that feeds those numbers is also tilting. In every major American school district, on average, boys are about a full grade level behind girls in reading. On the most recent NAEP 12th grade reading assessment, girls were about 13 points ahead of boys.
Basically, all of the institutions and the behaviors and the ways of being and all of the things that they have taken from us were obviously all the source and the cause of our success. They took all this stuff away from us, and now we fail all through our lives. We fail in school, and then we fail in our early adulthood, and then we continue to fail through our middle age. Then they took all those things is what allowed us to achieve as American men. We needed all those things were there so that we could, American men could feed their families, so that American men could have a decent life. They took all that shit away from us, gave it to somebody else. It's obvious that all these things, we are where we're at because somebody wants us to be here. They took all that shit and obviously somebody realized, hey, this is why they're so successful. That's what did it, is they have all these different structures and different infrastructure. Like this is where their ability comes from. And they destroyed it. It's like, that's just crazy, man. How they it just blows my mind that we are so hated that, that these people, they fucking basically sacrificed our civilization just to either hurt us or benefit some other. It was such a short-term thing. It's like basically they just wanted to destroy our civilization and condemn us to suffering and misery and struggling. Like all those institutions, all that infrastructure, it's gone, and it's not coming back. That was it was like a crutch. We're in trouble. That's for sure. We're in a hell of a lot of trouble now.
Which is roughly a third of a standard deviation. Boys carry double the ADHD diagnosis rate and roughly double the suspension rate. They drop out more often. For every 100 girls held back to repeat kindergarten, 145 boys are. The teaching workforce that those boys see standing in front of them is also disappearing on the male side. In 1988, men were 30% of K-12 teachers. By 2021, that figure was 23%. In elementary schools, men are about 11% of teachers. In pre-K and kindergarten, men are less than 3% of teachers. About 6% of all U.S. teachers are men of color, while 26% of K-12 students are boys of color. Richard Reeves, the former Brookings scholar who founded the American Institute for Boys and Men in 2023, has documented all of this in his book Of Boys and Men. Reeves' argument, which he derives from neuroscience research on prefrontal cortex development, is that the female brain develops the executive function regions about 1 to 2 years earlier than the male brain. Reeves proposes a structural intervention he calls redshirting, in which boys would start kindergarten 1 year later than girls to even out the developmental gap. Reeves also flags one of the most striking data points in modern education economics: the Kalamazoo Promise, a program that fully funded state college tuition for any graduate of the Kalamazoo public school system, the town next to mine by the way, so I didn't get that, damn it, raised post-secondary degree completion for women in that district by about 12 percentage points. For men in the same district, the same program.
See what I mean? Like that, what I was saying before is all the effort, all the ideas, all the money, it's pouring into women. That, I mean, we're not even getting the bare minimum. We're not getting maintenance, none of that. They're actually siphoning off resources from us to give more to them.
Program produced no measurable increase in bachelor's degree completion. Similar scholarship and mentoring programs in North Carolina, Arkansas, and Georgia have produced similar patterns. Women respond, men do not. Whatever is breaking the pipeline for boys breaks earlier than the cash incentive can reach. Now follow those boys into the labor market as men. In 1954, the prime age male labor force participation rate, which counts men aged 25 to 54 who are either working or actively looking for work, hit roughly 98%. Almost universal. Almost every adult man of working age had a job or was hunting for one. In 2024, that rate stands at about 89%. In 1960, only 1 in 35 prime-aged men was out of the labor force. In 2023, 1 in 9 was.
You see the difference here. This is huge. This is huge. This is what you're looking at is what fucking destroyed us, destroyed our country, destroyed our civilization. This shit is the root. This is what did it. Fucking, hey, mark me. Mark me. This is what fucking ended us in the West, basically, is this. Stripping us of all these institutions. I'm sure 1,000 years ago, Europeans struggled just like we're struggling now. And then they came up with a game plan and they spent centuries building up infrastructure and institutions. And they got to a place where they almost to a man, they were able to, almost 100% of white or European men were successful. Whatever, these institutions were perfect. They figured it out. They figured out how to get our civilization to reach its full potential, to get every individual to reach their full potential. And then they destroyed all that. Now look at us. Look at the Malays. It's literally fucking falling apart. It's falling apart, crumbling right in front of us. They get rid of these institutions. They get rid of the social infrastructure and the social institutions, and the rest crumbles, man. It's not even, it's like, that's the structure, is the community stuff. Once it's gone, we're naked. We have no defenses, no strength, no structure, and it's complete. You can see it. It's pretty obvious.
Late 2023, an estimated 6.9 million American men in their prime working years were neither employed nor looking for work. Between 81 and 87% of those men have no bachelor's degree. Several things pulled these men out at once. Manufacturing employment in the United States peaked at 19.6 million jobs in June 1979. By February 2010, that number had fallen to 11.5 million. The sharpest decline came in the 2000s when the United States granted China permanent normal trade relations status in 2001, and U.S. manufacturing employment fell from 17.3 million to 13.7 million by 2007, a loss of 3.4 million jobs. The economists David Autor, David Dorn, and Gordon Hanson published a series of papers calculating that the so-called China shock cost the United States roughly 2.4 million net jobs between 1999 and 2011. Real median male wages
Literally, when I was fucking like the first fucking 10 years of my teen and adult life, yeah, that fucking we were just hemorrhaging all the fucking jobs. Yeah.
done
Nice.
almost nothing for 40 years, according to the Economic Policy
Bro,
Institute.
male salaries, nothing for 40 years. Nothing. Zero. No growth. No nothing. You know, make no mistake, this shit has been done to us. This has been perpetrated against us. You know, they figured out how to destroy us. They figured out our kryptonite, I guess.
The median male wage in the United States was $19.53 an hour in 1979. By 2012, in inflation-adjusted numbers, it was $18.03 an hour, a net decline of 7.6% across 3 decades, while productivity in the same economy rose nearly 70%. For men with only a high
productivity
school
rises 70%, and we lose. The wages go down. We produce 70% more, and our wages went down. Bro, like this whole fucking thing is a lie, man. It's just a big fucking lie. And we are the debt slaves, the idiots that are propping it up. The idiots that are keeping all this shit fucking, you know, just rolling forward on the momentum. Like, if we were fucking smart, we would just fucking we would just say fuck this and walk away. Let them sort it out.
diploma, real wages fell roughly 14% from 1979. Men with less than a high school education saw real wages fall more than 24%. Alan Kruger, the Princeton economist and former chairman of the Council of Economic Affairs under Obama, ran a 2017 study at the Brookings Institution. He found that nearly half of prime-age American men who were out of the labor force took pain medication daily. Roughly 2 out of 3 of those took prescription opioids. Bring that into the present. In 2024, the male overdose death rate in the United States was 32.2 per 100,000. The female rate was 14.1. Men account for about 71% of opioid overdose deaths in the country. These two statistics, prime age male labor force participation and male overdose mortality,
and you don't hear a fucking peep about this, bro. This is totally according to plan. Nobody's saying, holy shit, what's going on with men? Like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, you know, they're just struggling, this and that. No. This is according to plan. We're probably ahead of schedule, and they're fucking pleased as punch, I'm sure. You don't hear a fucking word about it. That's how you know this shit is alarming. This is alarming, bro. This is the death of a civilization. This is the death of a fucking people, man. You know, like a really industrious, productive people. We're fucking dying off, man.
track each other almost line for line on a chart from 1995 to the present. Annie Case and Angus Deaton, the economists who coined the term death of despair, in a 2015 paper in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, documented something almost no one expected. Mortality among middle-aged white non-Hispanic Americans had stopped falling. It had reversed. The reversal was unique to the United States among rich countries, and it concentrated almost exclusively among non-college educated white.
We're the only fucking group of men that our life expectancy getting smaller. Every other group, their life expectancy was going up, and they were living longer. And we're the one group of people. Yeah, it sounds to me like we've been made a scapegoat. Sounds to me like we're the whipping boy. We're the piñata, and they've just been taking the piss out of us. You know, using us up, whatever is left of us, to maintain things, and then cast us on the ash heap of history. You know, we're just getting used up, discarded like a tampon. There's nothing we can do, no redress for grievances. all we can do is just be quiet and take it, I guess. I mean, that's about how it looks.
Men. Their book, Deaths of Despair and the Future of Capitalism, came out in 2020. The numbers got worse during COVID. Personal life follows the same pattern. In a Pew Research Center survey conducted in July 2022, 63% of American men aged 18 to 29 reported being single. Among women in the same age bracket, the figure was 34, a 29-point gap. The General Social Survey suggests the true gap is closer to 10 points than 30, depending on the framing of the question, but every major data set agrees on the direction. The median age of first marriage in the United States in 1970 was 23.2 for men and 20.8 for women. In 2024, it was 30.5 for men and 28.6 for women. Marriage has been delayed by roughly 7 years. For working class men, in many cases, it has been canceled. Brad Wilcox at the Institute for Family Studies has documented that the share of working class men under 40 who have never been married went from about 25% in 1980 to roughly 50% in 2018. They have been priced out of the family formation market, which means their children, when they have children, are mostly raised by mothers who never married them. Roughly 80% of custodial parents in the United States are mothers. About 20% are fathers. Child support, in aggregate, runs predominantly from non-custodial fathers to custodial mothers. Pew also tracks something that should worry everyone. Between 2019 and 2022, the share of single American men looking for a relationship or dates dropped 11 percentage points from 61% to 50%. The drop among single women was much smaller, from 38 to 35. Tens of millions of single men in the world's wealthiest country looked at the dating market and stopped trying. The Lay and South paper in the Journal of Marriage and Family, published in 2021, found that the share of American men aged 18 to 29 who reported having no sex in the past year had hit roughly 30%, the highest such figure in over 30 years of data. Pornography has filled the gap. Survey data from Psychology Today's compilation of major industry studies puts regular pornography use among men aged 18 to 29 in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Italy at somewhere between 76 and 87%. And now on top of that, even porn's getting expensive with OnlyFans. Luckily, you don't have to worry about money because you can get $200 for free right now by signing up for the source of the friendship figures cited earlier. In 1990, 55% of American men reported 6 or more close friends. By 2021, that share was 27. The men with no close friends climbed from 3% to 15% over the same span. A separate Pew Research Center study conducted in 2023 with slightly different question wording found a smaller percent day gap of around 9% of men and 8% of women reporting no close friends. The two methodologies do not agree, so both data points are worth holding in mind. The Cox figure tracks change since 1990. The Pew figure measures the absolute level today. Either way, the male loneliness number is much higher than it was 30 years ago. A Pew study in 2025 found that 85% of American men say their primary source of emotional support is their spouse. The figure for women was 72%. That ratio is the structural reason male isolation hits differently. Men funnel almost everything into one relationship. At the end of that relationship, through divorce or death, or its failure to ever start, collapses the entire support network at once. Single, divorced, and widowed men score highest on every measure of severe isolation in the dataset. The Equimundo organization's 2023 State of American Men survey produced a number worth verifying twice. 44% of American men in this survey said they have had thoughts of suicide in the previous 2 weeks. 65% of men aged 18 to 23 agreed with the statement, "Nobody really knows me well." Now on to the politics. In November 2024, Donald Trump was re-elected to the presidency, and the demographic data underneath that result was the loudest signal in modern American polling history. According to the Edison exit polls, the Associated Press VoteCast survey, and the Tough Circle Youth Vote Analysis, men aged 18 to 29 broke for Trump by roughly 56 to 57%. That was a swing of about 16 percentage points from 2020 when the same cohort broke against Trump. Women aged 18 to 29 went the other way, and at about 60% for the Democratic candidate. The intra-generational gender gender gap in young Americans, according to the Wall Street Journal's analysis of the Cox-led data, grew from 17 points in 2020 to 31 points in 2024. The same pattern shows up almost everywhere in a stable democracy that still does national polling. In South Korea, Yoon Suk-yeol won the 2022 presidential election by 0.7 percentage points. Among men aged 18 to 29, Yoon won 59%. Among women aged 18 to 29, he won 34, a 25% intra-cohort group, the largest of any age group in the entire election. Yoon ran on an anti-feminist platform that promised to abolish the Ministry of Gender Equality and Family. A 2021 CISA ION survey found that 66% of South Korean men in their 20s said they could not accept feminists as neighbors, colleagues, friends, or family. South Korea's total fertility rate in 2023 was 0.78. In 2024, it dropped further to 0.72 to 0.74, the lowest in the world. President Yoon declared a national population emergency in 2024. South Korea is now projected to have more than half of its population aged 65 or older by 2065. Out of the male political backlash in Korea came a counter backlash from the women known as the 4B movement. The 4Bs stand for the Korean words for no marriage, no childbirth, no dating, and no sex with men. The movement first emerged around 2016 after a young woman was murdered in a Seoul subway bathroom in what became known as the Gangnam Station murder case. The 4B movement saw a surge of interest in the United States in the days following the November 2024 election. Japan's pattern is similar without the same political branding. The people who are social withdrawals that do not leave their homes for months or years now number roughly 1.5 million. Japan's media has reported on the rise of herbivore men who have withdrawn from dating, marriage, and career advancement. Japan's total fertility rate sits at 1.2 in 2023. Germany, the United Kingdom, China, the same pattern and slightly different form in every developed country with the data to measure it. Two visible cultural responses have emerged on the male side. The first one is the manosphere, a loose network of podcasts, YouTube channels, Discord servers, subreddits, and influencer ecosystems organized around an explicit theory of male grievance. Andrew Tate is the highest profile figure. Jordan Peterson is the most academically credentialed. Underneath them sits thousands of smaller channels. The manosphere does something that mainstream institutions have refused to do. It validates the male grievance head on. It tells isolated men that the dating market is broken, that the educational pipeline punishes them, that the legal system disadvantages them in custody disputes, and that the labor market is grinding them down. And as you've seen in this documentary so far, some of those claims hold up to scrutiny, but others distort the underlying data, and a few of them are flatly false. Researchers at the Equimundo Project's 2025 State of American Men report described the manosphere as a vehicle that converts personal failure into political grievance. Followers of these spaces show measurably higher levels of homophobia, are more likely to support authoritarian rhetoric, and have a strong overlap with American gun culture. And not that that last one is that bad, but if you combine that with the authoritarian part and not liking gay people, it could.
This is all bullshit, man. Oh, they've had authoritarian this and that. Yeah, but they've never committed a crime in their entire life. Oh, they like guns. Like they're literally making villains out of innocent people that have done nothing wrong. Nothing. But and you hear him, oh, not liking gay like, bro. Like, that's a problem. Like, bro, what the fuck? What are you talking about? Like, that's crazy. Not liking gay. That's not a problem. Hurting people, killing people, that's a problem. Having an opinion, you know, not feeling comfortable around like that's not a problem. That's not a problem. And it's just disgusting to hear this guy pretend that it is. Like, bro, not liking gay people, how is that a problem? Somebody could not, let's say somebody doesn't like gay people. Who's to say they even tell anybody that's the case? Like, that's not harm. That's not. It's fucking incredible, man. So incredible.
get there. The second visible response is what cultural commentators in 2024 and 2025 began calling the performative male. The performative male signals progressive feminist allyship through aesthetics. Tote bag with a feminist slogan, a copy of bell hooks visible on the neck, a self-depreciating joke about masculinity at every social gathering. Cultural critique, which started on TikTok and migrated into more mainstream commentary, is that this aesthetic is often performed by men
Wow.
as a mating strategy, not as a
Goofy.
sincere ideological commitment. Women, the critics argue, have learned to read it as a red flag rather than an asset. The
Ah,
performative male is suspected of using progressive vocabulary the way a
wow.
Victorian gentleman
What a
used flattery,
pussy.
as a tool to lower the target's defenses.
Ah,
Neither side of this is fully healthy. The manosphere converts isolation into resentment, and the performative male model degrades the language of equality into a pickup sport. The majority of men who are in the middle, who are not radicalized and not being performative, get caught in the crossfire and just stop participating. Loyola law professors have started calling the resulting legal landscape where men's gatekeeping institutions are dismantled and women's protective spaces remain authorized by statute asymmetric anti-discrimination. The British case for Women's Scotland Ltd versus the Scottish ministers, decided by the UK Supreme Court in 2025, ruled that for purposes of the United Kingdom's Equality Act of 2010, the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex. The ruling has reshaped how single-sex spaces work in Britain. The American legal system has not yet decided the same question. Under U.S. federal law as it stands today, Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 does not apply to a private club not open to the public. Title IX contains a set of carve-outs for membership practices in social fraternities and sororities, the YMCA, the WYCA, the Girl Scouts, the now rebranded Scouting America, and several voluntary youth organizations. These exemptions are why some single-sex spaces still legally exist in the United States. The asymmetry shows up in what those exemptions cover and what they do not. Single-sex youth groups can still legally exist, but the cultural pressure has flipped most of the historically male ones into mixed-sex programs. Scouting America integrated. Girl Scouts did not. Most fraternities are still men-only because of the Title IX carve-out. Most sororities are still women-only for the same reason. But the broad civic infrastructure of male-only fraternal life that defined American adulthood for a century, Masons, the Elks, the Rotaries, the Lions, the athletic clubs, the eating clubs, has either been dissolved by court order, integrated under reputational pressure, or starved out by membership decline. Replacement grade institutions have not been built. The structural picture stops there. Now let's look at the small set of attempts to rebuild. The most successful project by almost every available metric is something called the Men's Sheds movement. It started in Australia in the early 1990s as a community health initiative. The format is almost embarrassingly simple. A nonprofit owns or rents a physical building stocked with woodworking equipment, metalworking tools, and a kitchen. Older men, retired men, unemployed.
what's crazy is, you know, men gather because it's community, and they do better because of it. They do better when they spend time around each other. But this ideology, this toxic ideology, what it says is that that's dangerous for when men are around each other. That's dangerous, and it's dangerous for women because those men, they're going to talk about raping women and this and that. So the actual solution will never happen because they have determined that the solution might end up making the problem worse. And it's like he said, it's shockingly simple. It's as simple as guys just being around each other, on a regular basis. But and like when I hear that, and I'm thinking to myself, well, that's crazy because it seems so wholesome building sheds or working in. Well, these feminists and stuff, that to them is dangerous. They would say, no, we have to stop that. That has to be stopped because they might form a political organization. That like it's crazy, man. We're being denied the ability to solve our own, to fix ourselves, to solve our own problems. We're being denied that at the insistence of other people. Like we're so discriminated against, we're so oppressed that even behaving as though there is a problem and that, we're that we need to find the solution to, that's unacceptable. Like, and that's pretty much what I've been getting at with this whole thing is it seems sort of innocuous. Oh, these things just disintegrated. But that's not what's happened. They have targeted these things to target us. It is about disadvantaging us. It is about knocking us, bringing us down bringing us down to a low level or their level or what. And that's the whole point of all this. Like that's why it's all happened the way it has. And like I said, they talk about men only spaces or men hanging out with each other as dangerous. Like I heard it the other day. I heard a feminist say that, like straight up say that, which is absurd, but that's what goes around. That's what people think. So, we're so persona non grata. We're so separate from this culture. We're not even allowed to try and solve this problem. Things are as they're supposed to be. This isn't a bug. This is what's supposed to be taking place. And we are right where we're supposed to be as far as they're concerned, I mean, or they would talk about this or they would be they're not concerned about this. They're quite happy. I mean, we're subjugated. We're I mean, make no mistake, this is subjugation, man. This is slavery, bro. This is slavery. They may dress it up and like there's dressing so that it doesn't seem like that. 100%, that's exactly what it is. This is slavery. We're being held down and we're being denied opportunity, denied everything that everybody else is uh rightfully owed. Like it's pretty obvious. Maybe I'm out of line here. Maybe I'm the only one that can see it, but when I see this, this is pretty fucking evil, man. This is diabolical. And like it all makes sense now. And they've been gaslighting us for years. They've been telling us that it's in our imagination. Horseshit. Horseshit. This proves it. This proves it. If all these things didn't matter so much, then why are they so hell bent on making or pumping up women's versions? If this stuff doesn't matter, if it's not as big of a deal as I think it is, then why do they go so far out of their way to make sure, like these CEO clubs and shit? Obviously, this stuff has value, or they wouldn't be so hell bent on making these maintaining these institutions and protecting them. And they wouldn't be so hell bent on destroying the Boy Scouts. The Boy Scouts. They know they have to totally excise these institutions from men's lives completely. That's why you don't even notice that there's a big hole in your life. That's why you didn't even notice that these didn't exist, because they made sure you wouldn't notice. They made sure that you would never miss any of it, because they destroyed the Boy Scouts so that you never even get a taste of a male only space. You never get to have conversations without women. Like, this shit is fucking evil, bro. This is terrorism. This shit right here, this is fucking terrorism, man.
Men, divorced men, widowed men show up. They build things, they talk while they build, they have a coffee, then they go home. The Australian Men's Shed Association supports more than 1,200 sheds in Australia alone. The Irish Men's Sheds Association reports more than 450 in Ireland.
These things would not have fucking thousands of them, and not historically had 20,000, 30,000 chapters. Like, obviously, these things are a huge deal, a big enough deal that the Boy Scouts was started, and it was over 100 years, and they had them all over the world. They had them before World War II in Germany. Like, man, this was clever. This was well thought out. This was clever. And it's done a lot of damage, I can tell you. I can assure you. If you felt like something was off with life, bro, you just fuck. And I always wondered when going through school, middle school, why was it that like when my dad went to school, the same middle school I went to, they showered after gym and stuff to why did they get rid of that? Why did they get rid of that? Well, now I know why I always used to wonder, why do we have these locker room showers? We never use them. Now I know why. Now I know exactly why. A lot of shit makes sense. A lot of stuff makes sense, man.
International Men's Shed Organization estimates roughly 3
And friends, men with, that are well adjusted, that are a community, like close friends, they look out for each other. They protect each other. Like it's easier to get over or to it's just like when they say that women get abused by their spouse. What does the spouse do? He isolates them. Bro, that's what they've been doing to us, is isolating us so that we just sit there and take it because we don't have anybody to talk to about it, nobody to say, dude, that's fucked up. That's way off. No, we got to do something. Bro, human nature is human nature. If men supposedly or abusers would isolate their victim, bro, we're being abused. And that's kind of why I'm so pissed off. That's why I'm so exercised about this. I feel like I have been cheated and abused. Truly abused. This is fucking abuse, man. This is abuse. This is cruel and unusual punishment. Cruel and unusual punishment. And to think, these social clubs are a big enough deal that they're willing to cause as much and immiserate as many human beings, destroy as many human lives as they have to make sure that we don't get these. But women do get them. Coloreds do get them. Do you think that's a fucking coincidence? Do you think that that's, by accident? And what's so striking to me is that they destroy ours, but at the same time, they're wearing out horses to fucking build these things up for everybody else but us. That shows you what's going on here. And that they were so fucking thorough. They got rid of the Boy Scouts. What, they sold too much popcorn? Is that what they did? They sold too much popcorn. They shot too many arrows at fucking Camp Huachuca or whatever the fuck. Like, bro, they went after a fucking boys program and destroyed it. Like fucking, it was as if they fucking hung it or gave it the guillotine. They went to the nth fucking degree to take out a fucking club for like 10-year-old boys. No, but you guys don't think that's a little wild, little odd? That is called fucking outright oppression, man. Like, it doesn't get much worse than that, man. And you know their intent, bro, because they're going after kids. How is it that serious? How is it that serious that you go after the Boy Scouts? The Boy Scouts. How is anything that fucking serious? How are our own people, our own fucking women, supposedly care about us and want us to succeed, did this? Destroyed fucking little boys, fucking boys. Bro, this is fucking, dude, this is fucking, if this isn't the time to fucking do something, like to do something, like I'm not bullshit, like do something real, then there isn't, that doesn't exist, bro. If we're willing to take this lying down, then we would take execution lying down. We would walk willingly into the cattle cars, bro. If this isn't enough to get you guys exercised, bro, it has all the fucking hallmarks. We may as well be Jays or Roma or whatever in Weimar, Germany. Like we may as well be, dude. That's what this is. That's what this little boys. You notice they didn't do it to the Girl Scouts. Notice that didn't get touched. But Boy Scouts, the name had to be changed. And then even after that, Girl Scouts of America fucking sued them because of their name. Girl Scouts came after Boy Scouts. They weren't, destroying Boy Scouts wasn't enough. They sued it after they destroyed it. Like, bro, why didn't they just round us up and fucking, put us in a big hole and shoot us and bury us? Because that's, I mean, this is pretty fucking close, dude. Like this, they want us dead, man. They think we're the worst thing that's ever happened to humans, apparently. Like, bro, that you don't do this to somebody that you feel neutral about. You don't do this to somebody that are even indifferent of. You don't go out of your way to injure, to hurt, and to just like you don't do that to somebody that you don't care about. You don't do that to somebody that you believe is a human. You do this to somebody that is subhuman. You do this to animals and shit. I mean, we're being treated like fucking animals here, bro. I mean, we're that's our fucking level of our lives in this country, bro. That they are. I mean, we probably we don't have as good of lives as those fucking sons of bitches that invading Spain. Like it wouldn't surprise me, man. Honestly, it would not surprise me, bro. If that, I mean, we're all in bubbles and shit, and it's just this is crazy, man. This is crazy. Like I just can't believe it, dude. I just honestly, I cannot fucking believe how they really hate us, man. They really hate us, dude, and they really do. They wish us ill will, man. I mean, they've done everything but fucking but kill us, but genocide us, dude. And that, they fucking openly flirt with that. But like, this is this is crazy, dude. Can't fucking believe it, honestly. Like, how is it that these people even claim that this is a democracy? How is it that they claim any of this shit? Anything, any of it? That that people are equal and that we're equal in the eyes of the like, bro, fucking give me a fucking break, bro. You fucking you torpedoed the Boy Scouts. You fucking destroyed the Boy Scout. Boy Scouts. Dude, that is the most I mean, the Boy Scouts. Bro, it teaches boys how to be good boys and like survive. Something as innocuous and righteous and positive as that they destroyed? Man, be wary, dude. I mean, keep your eyes peeled, man. Keep your wits about you, dude, because I doubt that that's the end of it, man. You know, I mean, although maybe we are just totally we have been relegated and rendered totally inert and basically eunuchs. Maybe they really they kind of it really is kind of a sort of different neglect. They're just kind of, they sort of hate us still, but like sort of just like indifference. They kind of just laugh and they think it's all fun. Like women, they talk so much shit about men. And like that takes on a whole new light as far as I'm concerned. Like they're just kind of gloating about how gloating about where we're at, like what's been done to us. They're gloating about it. I mean, I hope they enjoy it because they've destroyed themselves in the fucking process. They've destroyed everything. I mean, think that this shit's gonna continue. Like, bro, we've been waylaid. They've decided that we're just not going to get to be get to fix anything. No, if things start turning around, you think they're just gonna like allow that? I mean, they've stopped standing on our head while we're drowning because we're fucking drowning. And as soon as we start kind of catching our breath, I'm sure they'll turn up the heat again. Crazy, man. It's way more blackpilling than I realized, honestly. Like what I saw this, like just to see what how successful things used to be and how unsuccessful, unproductive they are now, and we are now, and then to see all of the things that they've stripped away from us, see that there's an unequal application of law, that there's a standard for us and there's a standard for everybody else. And pretty much like that with everything. Like uh women, they're in a lot of college debt, and they're just tripping over themselves trying to relieve that debt at our expense. Relieve that debt knowing that it's mostly women, relieve that debt using our tax dollars. Like we're the ones that have been impoverished for all these things. For all the changes and stuff, like the money, it's come from us. It hasn't come from all these people. They've benefited all the things that we used to get. We used to like earn. That was products of hard work and success. We're still working, and you've seen our wages have gone down since the 70s. Well, they've just basically now all that shit is siphoned off to build up their institutions, to put them through college, and we get to pay for it. You know, this is slavery, bro. Make no mistake, this is fucking genuine slavery. You don't have fucking agency. We're at best a number. And you see what happens in England, bro. A fucking white kid gets stabbed by some fucking piece of scum. You see, bro, that's what we're in the same position. We're in the same position. We just don't have as vicious of colors. And you know what, like, dude, that now that I think, see what's going on in the UK, bro. Fuck, man, they have us. We are we've been targeted for a fucking slow and painful death, man. Like, damn. So how could they? I just it blows my mind, bro. How this civilization just on a dime flipped on its head, went from a righteous, God-fearing civilization to evil incarnate, bro. Evil incarnate, man. They fucking they kill our kids, kill their kids, so that they can enslave us, and like live these insane, like go traveling and fucking all these, you know, third worlders, on our dime. They want to fuck just anybody but us. I mean, practically, that's how, I mean, we're just, bro, we are scum of the fucking earth, man. Like, I mean, I felt like it, but now it's just like, bro, it's obvious, dude. We are fucking, we are not, I mean, people don't see us as human, apparently. I mean, we're just fucking, you know, we they wouldn't piss on us to put a fire, put us out. I mean, it's crazy, man. And it's like, none of it. I never even missed those social clubs, and like you guys know, I like old movies. A little while I watched Public Enemies with James Cagney. I watched Scarface, the original with Paul Mooney. The Howard Hughes gangster movie, and a bunch of other old movies like that. And they're gangster movies. Every single one of those gangster movies, or quite a bit of the movie took place in a social club, and it has always puzzled the shit out of me. They're like bootlegging. They come back from their 8-hour shift or whatever, and they walk into this room. There's a fucking water cooler, a fridge, or like a little hot plate. There's tables and chairs. There's like 30 guys in there. It's not a very big room. It's like, like a living room, or maybe the size of like a half a tennis court. They're all just lounging in there, smoking cigarettes, reading newspapers and magazines. And then the guys, they walk in there in all these movies, and on the door they have one of those glass windows, the translucent glass windows, and it has the mafia boss, or the leader. He's the president of the social club. Every gangster movie I've ever seen, they had a social club. Or even the kids that were like little, gangsters gangsters that were kids, they're going to be gangsters when they get older, and now they're just doing petty theft and stuff. Even the kids had their own fucking social club where they paid dues and paid the rent. Like, and now that I see this, it just fucking blew my mind. I'm like, holy shit. They're not kidding. And like the bootleggers, that's where they fucking strategized and shit. That's where they would have, when the head fucking gangster calls a meeting, that's where they meet. That's where they meet, man. And every gang had one of those meeting places, just like every male community, every little fucking warehouse, I mean, straight up. And it never occurred to me that it was that. I just thought it looked goofy, like fucking pool. They got a couple of pool tables, and these guys just standing around smoking cigarettes, shooting pool, waiting for something to happen. Or like even like Dazed and Confused, the fucking the pool hall. We're not allowed to have them anymore. I mean, obviously those things, it's fucking some witchcraft or something, like, and that's absolutely how the fucking modern cult behaves and thinks about it. That's the way they think about us hanging out together in more than twos, and this, bro, this is we are under a regime that that literally resembles V for Vendetta or 1984. All these fucking dystopian movies. Like, one of the main tools of oppression is you're not allowed to gather in groups of more than like 3. That's what we're under a regime where we're not allowed to socialize with each other exclusively. Bro, bro, we are fucking totally like fucking enslaved. We are like, there's no two ways about it. No two ways about it, bro. We're not allowed to gather. That means we are not allowed to be in politics. Women they wear the pants. They're the fucking ones that vote. They're the ones that are allowed to be political. We're not even allowed to fucking gather. Stag party, you're not allowed to do stag parties. I mean, bro, we've had all of our rights and privileges taken from us for what reason I don't fucking know. But they have. They have. Like, thank God that they haven't figured out how to produce children, how to make sperm without it. Bro, we wouldn't even fucking exist, man. Obviously we wouldn't exist. I mean, if they're willing to fucking go after the Boy Scouts and literally just fucking wail on it and hit it with a fucking sap till it's just a pile of pieces at the end. And then they sue it, or God forbid you resist this shit, and then they just fucking accuse you of raping a woman and throw your ass in prison after they fucking take $40 million from you. Bro, this is fucking bad, man. I mean, and no doubt, I mean, absolutely, a lot of shit's falling like that Daniel Penny. Total show trial. Total fucking show. That shit could have been straight out of Nazi Germany. That was a total show trial for that dude, Daniel Penny. Johnny Depp, show trial. Like, bro, they fucking, yeah, man. This society is fucked, bro. It is so fucked, man. You don't see show trials humiliating women, do you? No. You see show trials against Donald Trump, show trials against Johnny Depp, against Daniel Penny. Any fucking man that dares stand up for himself, that dares to influence reality, that doesn't just lay down and allow themselves to be victimized. Oh, you got to be put in prison. Bro, they were going to throw Daniel Penny's ass in prison. It's like, oh, you've been in the military. You can't be on the streets. You might protect somebody. You might, somebody might try to victimize you and you might just fucking kill them or kick their ass. Like, bro. Crazy, man. Crazy. What a fucking shithole. Golly, it's crazy. Can't unsee it now. It's like, bro, these have been a lot of show trials, man. That's what these are. That's what these are. And then a woman, fucking sleeps with some kid that's a student of hers in like middle school. Slap on the wrist. Slap on the wrist. She's good. She, man, come on. You know how the guy was probably thankful. He was probably happy. Like, there's never ending. They have millions of excuses. Anytime somebody, basically does, or any, you're not allowed to commit crimes against everybody else except us. And then there's a double standard. Like I said, there's one standard for everybody else and one for us. And if somebody commits an offense or injures us or does something to us, bro, an excuse is made, exemptions are given, and suck it up. I mean, that's basically what it is. But if a woman transgresses, fuck, man, they'll break no end of rules to get her out of trouble. But us, shit, man. Think that think that you're being masculine or righteous when you try to protect a woman from some fucking crazed colored dude. Shit, man. Hey, going forward, bro. Yo, I stick my neck out for nobody now. Like, fuck y'all. Like, I mean, hey, what bro, they're just looking for an opportunity, dude. And then let's say you do something objectively just and righteous. It's an opportunity to fucking it's an opportunity to fucking, to enslave you, throw you in prison and work you to death. It's an opportunity to punish you, to incarcerate you, institutionalize you. And we all know, man, they don't miss an opportunity to do that to a white guy. Especially, I mean, in Britain too, all over the world. We have been targeted for cruel and unusual punishment. Straight up, man, show trial. And bro, and Andrew Tate, show trials, I'm sure, practically. I mean, that's how it seems. Fucking that dude that was a baseball pitcher for the LA Dodgers. bro, you basically have to have you have to catch the person women, they accuse men falsely of stuff all the time and nothing happens to them. And if you're accused falsely of something, you have to have indisputable evidence that catches them red-handed, or it's believe all women, of course. I mean, that's what happens, man. And like they say, oh, the process is the punishment. I don't know about that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But I 100% believe that they're going to try and get away with anything, whatever they can get away with, like Shiloh Hendricks. Bro, if that was a guy, he would be going to prison. He would be going to prison. Like the only thing that saved her is that she's a female. And it's like we're not criminals. We're well-adjusted members of society, but it just shows how fucking desperate they are to to victimize us, to hurt us, to injure us. We don't commit crimes, but man, any fucking excuse, dude. Whoo, they are just all too all too fired up in a hurry about that, man. It's crazy. Man, that shit done flipped my whole everything. I don't know. I don't even know what to think. Like, it's like I almost feel like it's like I've dug too deep, dude. Like I'm actually starting to kind of see things for what they are and kind of starting to understand the struggle. But fuck, man, I'm not feeling any better about it. I'm feeling worse, man. Like I can't even believe it, bro. Like we are in hostile territory, dude. We are you know uh, undesirables, man. It's like we're colored population from like the 20s. Like we're just like this little minority that they're you know go out of their way to fucking to hurt us, to attack us. And I'm not trying to be a victim or anything. Like that's not me really. But I'm like when I look at this, it's like holy shit, man. Like I always thought, we just kind of got a little bit of a we just kind of got a raw deal here and there. Nothing intentional though, just kind of like indifference sort of. Ah man. No, this is not indifference. This is not just bad luck or no man. No, no. They chose this shit for us. They chose this life. They chose all of these things. This is deliberate. I mean, how else could you see it, dude? How else could you see it? Like the Boy Scouts for what? What? It's and those Rotary clubs and stuff, bro. I've been inside those, man. They play cards and shoot pool and play bingo, dude. It's old people playing bingo. Bingo halls are Rotary clubs and stuff. And bro, these Rotary clubs, they went after them like they were the mafia or the Ku Klux Klan or neo Nazis. Bro, I'm fucking flabbergasted, man. How is this possible that this happened? Like that, and that we didn't. It's something else, dude. It's something else, man. I mean, I feel like most people don't know this. People don't understand. They don't even notice anything wrong. There's so much wrong right now in America. I mean, I just don't understand how nobody like this isn't people didn't think this was crazy. how there are laws on the books that only like they're supposed to affect everybody. But, because they there's a social double standard that people uh everybody knows that there's a set of rules for us and like that's just it blows my mind, man, because we've been told our entire lives how we're so lucky. Bro, I've been told my whole life how lucky I am. Oh, dude. Whew. Something else, man. It's like, man, he laughed to keep from crying, bro. Practically. I mean, shit. Yeah. Anyway, black pill for sure. Black pill for sure. But that to me, that was like big news. Like that's that was really big news. That was shocking news. I'm fucking beside myself. I still can't believe it. Anywho, I hope you guys enjoyed the rant. You know, I'm trying to get it together, and like I actually wrote a piece, an article, that I'm fixing to post it in it, but uh, like I'm getting a kind of a routine together with it and stuff. Fuck. But and like now it's just I feel like, bro, the Discord, yeah, we need to start, doing that, taking that serious. Communities on X, Telegram groups. Like, no, this stuff is really important. Obviously, if it's important enough for them to go that far out of their way to put a coup de grace on something that's already dying. Like they basically they terminally wound it. It's bleeding to death, but they still went out like Boy Scouts and all that. They still went over to perform the coup de grace to ensure, you know, what is it? Two in the head, one in the chest, or one in the head, two in the chest. That like they go over and do that to all these bro, they're not doing that for sport. Like, no, they're doing that to make sure that, that shit is dead for sure. It's, too easily and too almost most happily, you know, walked off into that good night. Wall ourselves off. Live a hermit or a reclusive life. That's what they want. That's what they fucking want, man. Like, and just got to redouble our efforts, because like this, they've they've had this design on me to ensure that I'm a failure, or ensure that we're all failures. Well, I'm gonna try twice as hard now, you know? Like fuck them. I'm a stubborn, spiteful son of a bitch. And they're fuck them. They'll rue this day. If I have anything to say about it. Like, man, I'm trying to start a community on X, you know. And like it takes a community too, by the way. Like Nick Fuentes, the only reason why he's anybody and people know of him is because of his community. They flooded Instagram and shit with his edits. That's the only reason why he's somebody, is because they got together as like a tight knit little uh, commune or community and refused to submit. Refused to submit. Yeah, and Can't just lay down, man. Can't just lay down. Can't just roll over like this. Anywho, fellas, hope y'all had a great weekend tomorrow night. I'll see y'all then.